Alright, so I am 13 minutes in. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Game Chat, everyone. This is a podcast that showcases a content creator from the gaming industry. I am Kamikazevondoom, and I'm going to be the host of Game Chat. So this is going to actually be episode 1, and my guest today is going to be a content creator from, you guessed it, the Tom Clancy Division franchise. His channel, he posted a video about 2 years ago, is his latest, but his channel does say that he's been on YouTube since 2013, and since then he has amassed nearly 50,000 subscribers and just under 15 million views. He's centered around the UK, but obviously, you know me, I like to dip my toes in everyone's sandbox. But this is Epic Slay3rs, so welcome Epic Slay3rs. You are in episode 1. Thank you so much for deciding to do this.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, man. Obviously, this is the first episode, so we're going to have little bugs here and there, but it is what it is.
Yes, no worries.
But we are in Game Chat, and it's funny because we are in Game Chat, technically. I mean,
yeah.
But, so, reason I'm doing this podcast, and for everyone that's going to end up listening, is I'm bringing different content creators from different walks of life. Meaning that myself being a content creator, I've got this whole life story and this whole other life that I had before I started this crap, just like you did. And the funny thing that I've been noticing since talking to other content creators is that everyone has their own story, and they're actually pretty interesting. Because we both know that YouTube is relatively new compared to, you know, what we've seen in other technology, and it's only going to get bigger. So trying to get to know these content creators more, get to know their background, who they are, what, you know, what makes them tick and stuff like that. It just brings in the audience a little bit more, get to know you, because the things that audience members speculate, they're normally negative, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I know about that.
I try to shine light on everything, whether it be good or bad, because in the end of the day, if they're just going to guess, it's going to end up being negative and then snowball, what have you.
Yeah.
But with all that being said, man, welcome. Not sure what you expect of this, but we're going to have fun. The way I'm going to start this off, man, is I'm going to basically give you the table and just let everyone know, you know, who you are, how you came to be like this content creator. Like I just said earlier, you're just under 50,000 subscribers, and your oldest video is like 2 years old. And for video games, at least, and the video game industry within YouTube and content creators, that's still pretty damn big.
Yeah, well, I never imagined it would get anywhere close to where it was, because, you know, I started, like you said, I think it was, like you said, 2013, so 7 years ago, and I think the first thing I actually posted was probably Call of Duty gameplay, if I'm honest. No audio of my own, just playing Call of Duty and performing well, and then uploading that footage to YouTube and just doing that on a semi kind of regular basis every week or two. I actually only started because basically I would have been living with my parents at that time, and I used to watch YouTube all the time anyway, Xbox, and I was playing Call of Duty. I thought I was pretty good at it, so I thought, you know what, I'm seeing other people just post, you know, gameplay. Why couldn't I do the same? So obviously looked at getting some capture software, which I did, and then pretty much just went from there, really, and just that was it. I did that for probably a couple of years. I think I even started posting in Destiny beta, the original Destiny, and that was really it until obviously the E3 showing of the Division, and when I saw that, I thought, you know what, that's going to be the thing that I really try and capture, and yeah, it kind of went from there, and it kind of snowballed from there, really. And it wasn't actually until the end of Destiny Division, the first division, that my channel really started to grow, which was
Right.
Yeah, so it's only
About
been in the last kind of 2
1.8 or
years.
something like that.
Well, it
I
was
think it was
actually,
about 1.8.
I think it was probably when we first learnt that the Division 2 was coming. And I think it was
Right.
probably in, what, I don't know, April, May of 2018, maybe? Something like that.
Somewhere around there. Yep.
That's
Which
when,
is quite funny.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's when I started to really start to see growth in my channel.
So you're saying that, so you actually started your channel back in 2013. You were doing Call of Duty and like just like little clips here and there. So that's how you like started this content creating mentality kind of deal.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really. I mean, at that time, it wasn't. I wouldn't consider it content creating. It was just,
Right.
oh, I've got some footage,
Just showing clips.
and I'm
Yeah.
just going to throw some footage onto this channel that I've really put no effort into, and I'll just see if people like it, and that was about it. And of course, it didn't go anywhere because I wasn't really invested in the whole content creation thing. I didn't even realize at that time that content creation was a thing, if that makes
Right.
sense. So
Definitely.
it was
Yeah.
just throw some stuff on the interwebs and see what people think, and yeah, kind of went from there.
I got you. Okay. So, because what I remember and what I'll try to do for each of these is let the content creator know when I first, had you on my radar. I believe it was about 1.7, 1.8. And you did this video, and I'll never forget. I think it was the first video I've ever watched of yours, and it said, it was either buy this game now
Yes.
or the Division.
I know the video.
You have to, like, is it worth playing right now? Something
Yeah.
like that. But anyways, it was epic. Like, I remember that video took off.
Yes.
And I couldn't open up YouTube without seeing your damn name everywhere. And I was like, who is this guy? And back then, because that's funny, I started my channel April 2018.
Okay.
End of April 2018. So I think that video that I mentioned was maybe like a month before I made a video.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And that's when I started to really get into YouTube, because I was like, oh, okay, hold up. There's videos on here. There's tutorials on here. And that's where I started to dip my feet into it. But kind of same deal with you, because you were saying that it was basically just you saw other people were making clips and montages, so you were like, hey, I could do that, and then, why not? And,
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of the exact same mentality I had, and I'm starting to see that with a trend with other content creators, is that you see somebody else do it, and then you're like, man, that looks, it either looks A, easy, or it looks B, it looks obtainable, where, hey, I could probably do something like that if I tried. It's an obtainable goal if I tried.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, you can't just make a clip, put it on YouTube, and all of a sudden start making money from Google. That's not how it
Oh,
works.
it definitely
you
doesn't.
actually have to have, a personality. You have to have, speaking skills and stuff like that. And yeah, I think we both. That's funny, because that was the one video that introduced me to you.
Still my
so-
my biggest video, actually. I think that is of all my
ever.
videos. Yeah.
Nice. It was definitely a good one. It got me, so for me, I was playing Destiny 2 at that time. No, Destiny 1.
Destiny 1, yeah.
So watching your video, I was like, man, I could get back into the Division. And then I got back into it, and that's when they announced, all right, Division 2. And then I was like, man, if this franchise launches like this game did, I should be a content creator for it.
Mhm.
And then we all know what happened at launch of Division 2.
Yeah.
But it's all good. I'm not salty about it. Maybe Division 3 will, help a brother out, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think the Division 1, when I made that video, it felt like the game was actually in the best place it certainly had been since launch, and I actually felt like a game which people that may have left initially would come back and enjoy again. And And I think at the time I actually was like, Division 2's coming out. I'm happy about that because I felt as though they'd learned a lot of lessons from, the 2 years plus developing the Division 1, that they'd be able to replicate those good ideas into the Division 2 and then add, layers on top of that to make it a great experience. We obviously know that didn't happen and they went a completely different direction. But at the time,
Right.
that's why I made that video, because I felt as though, the game was in a really good place and the franchise was going to be in a great place in the future. And here we are.
Yep. I drank that Kool-Aid too, man.
Yeah.
I drank it right up. And I wasn't too happy the way it was settling. Yeah, the Division 2's that's very much a love-hate relationship in my book.
Yeah.
Because I love it because I can cover a game that I enjoy and make money from it. And the more consistent you are, the more consistent your revenue is.
Yeah.
And I think what certain people don't understand is that once you start to hit this part with content creating and you're actually making money, it starts to put it in perspective that, hey, you could actually do something with this. Because in no way, shape, or form am I like making, hundreds of thousands, or I'm not like some
No.
YouTube millionaire or anything. But I mean, I can admit that, I can pay my bills with my YouTube money. I could even, pay a majority of my, rent and mortgage from YouTube.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's actually pretty surprising.
Yeah. Yeah.
That you're able to do something like that.
Yeah, I mean, a long time ago, I never even thought you could do that. And I think, for me, obviously it's great earning money from YouTube, doing something you enjoy. But in the same kind of vein, or on the same vein, in many ways, it kind of taints the experience a little bit for me. In that, for example, I'm going to be playing the Destiny 2 Online DLC later on.
Right.
Now, I've always wanted to cover Destiny 2 as a game on the channel consistently, like I do with the Division 2. But due to my experiences with the Division 2, it's always stopped me from covering it, because I've got to a point where it almost feels like a second job rather than me doing something that I really, really enjoy. Because there are times, as you probably know, where I don't want to create content for YouTube, or I don't want to play the Division 2 and create content because either the game's, I'm just not enjoying the game, or etc. But sometimes it feels like you're forced to, because there's that monetary aspect to it. And I wouldn't want that on Destiny 2, because I love Destiny 2. I probably love the Destiny universe more than the Division universe, if I'm being honest.
Yeah,
and so
definitely.
I've never made that transition over there, because I'm always worried in the back of my head that, well, if it starts, going really well and I start making money off of it, then it's going to turn into a job. Do you ever get that feeling?
Exactly. I do. Yes and no.
Okay.
So with the Division, my life's actually changed drastically throughout the Division franchise. I think when the Division first came out, I was still knee deep in the military. I was still going overseas and coming back. Was actually pretty busy, and then by the time Division ended, I had already gotten with what's now my wife, and then kids, and then all that, and then moving, getting out of the military. I mean, my life's changed like a complete 180 since this game franchise has come out. But what I have noticed is it's kind of this whole part of content creating, there's a wall. And the wall is that you have, like, I see exactly what you're saying. The whole, I have to play this game because I have to make content on it and I have to make money. because not only am I looking forward to that money every month, but also my bills are looking forward to that money. My wife is looking forward to that money. My kids are looking forward to that money. And then once you're like, okay, well, I want to go play, Destiny. And then everyone's like, I don't want to watch you play Destiny.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're not making money. And then your wife is like, well, what's going on? Then your kids are like, hey, I'm hungry. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, shit, we don't have a mortgage. And then it's like, what happened? I completely understand that. And I see that from so many content creators.
Mm-hmm.
There's another content creator that I'm going to have on in a future episode. And I'll get way more in depth with it. But long story short is that content creators within the gaming industry are very, I don't want to say scared. They're very cautious when it comes to switching games. Because once your demographic hits that certain threshold and you're in that algorithm, it's really hard to get out of it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Let me think. Who's a good example? Jetforth Gaming is a great example. He was specifically just Division 2, and his videos started to blow up. I think they were like Unlimited Seeker Mines, something like that.
Right.
But he started getting 100K views every time.
Right.
Boom, boom, boom. And he hit this plateau where he was going up this mountain, going up, and then all of a sudden it got flat. And he's like, all right, views aren't coming in. I'm not enjoying the game. I don't really want to cover the game. And, I want to do something else. So what he's been doing, and I think it's been working. I'm not sure yet. He's experimenting. But he's waiting. I think he said that he waited 2 or 3 weeks solid, no posting anything, just to get out of the Division algorithm.
Right.
Because he wants to do other games.
Yeah.
But he kept mentioning that he was stuck in this Division algorithm. And I think that it's more, so we have personal parts to it, and then there's this technical part in the background. So we have like, hey, I'm making some good money for the Division, but I feel as if it's cutting away from the fun. And then in the background, you have the YouTube wheel spinning, and it's like, yeah, but hey, Epic, if you post a video, we'll give you 20,000 views.
Yeah.
And you like 20,000 views because that's some good money.
Yeah.
And then you're like, all right, screw it. And then you end up doing it. And
yeah.
I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't really met a content creator that has successfully balanced multiple games at once. It's usually, there's a focus. Like, who's another example? Nothing But Skills is a great example.
Yeah, that's a good example.
He got big through Call of Duty, but not really, kind of deal. So he started, I've been following Nothing But Skills since he had like 5,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Before he even showed his face. And he actually hasn't changed, which is awesome. But what I've seen in his channel is from 0 to 5K, he was just doing normal videos, not showing his face. From 5 to 10K, he decided to do the whole face reveal. He started doing giveaways, stuff like that. This is just normal content creating stuff. Now, the same time you got big with that video, that was basically the jumpstart for a majority of us. And that's where Nothing But Skills jumped off as well, because that's when he got invited to the ETF, he got invited to E3,
Yeah.
they put him, all that crap. Well, what he did is he hit this, I think it was like 20,000 mark, something like that. but then Call of Duty came out. I think it was like Vigor or Vigor. I
Yeah,
don't remember.
yeah.
And then like Remnant from Ashes or Remnant to
Yeah,
Ashes.
Remnant from the Ashes or something, isn't it? Yeah, I can't remember.
Well, he just started doing all these different games, and what I was seeing is that he would just put his focus, kind of like the eye of Sauron from Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
He just like moves his eye from like one video game to another, and then he'll just focus on it for what I think is like a few days. He'll play a game for a few days, make enough videos to like last a week, and then he'll go on to the next one, go on to the next one.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is that there's no real balance. It's not like, hey, I could do a Call of Duty video in the morning, Division video in the evening, and then, Fortnite video at night. People don't do that.
No.
Because you have to stick into this, like, weird algorithm.
Yep, absolutely.
And I'm seeing, like, what you were just saying with Destiny. Like, I would love to be able to do that as well, but there's still that weird stigma where YouTube makes it extremely difficult for content creators to make that transition, because the way they have their algorithms set up, they're helping us, but they're hurting us. You know what I mean? It's more like they're helping us stay within our algorithm. However, they are making it harder for us to reach out to other algorithms. And that's where our channels kind of stay stagnant with the video game, because if the video game goes up, then all of our views go up. And if the video game goes down, all of our views go down. And it's not just one channel or two channels. You can pretty much see the wave effect throughout all channels, because one day I'll have a video that hits 40k views in like 3 days, and then another video I'll get like 3,000 views in 2 days, and it's just like completely hit and miss. And it just seems like we're just riding that wave, which is the Division 2, when I think personally, and I think you would agree, that there needs to be a different wave, like just a content creator wave.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I'm a content creator for this game, this game, this game, and this game, because I want to do that. But the way YouTube constricts you and binds you to this one game, it's really hard to get out of it, because you like money. I like money.
Yeah, you have to pretty much, like you said, move your eye and just solely focus on that one game. Now, a good example, someone who I watch a lot, is MTashed. I don't know if you've ever watched MTashed.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So he obviously he did cover the Division 2 initially, and then he went over Destiny, and he focused solely on Destiny, and he posted Destiny stuff a lot. He streamed on Twitch, and then more recently, with Destiny kind of going through a slow period before this DLC, he then Genshin Impact, which absolutely blew up his channel. But he didn't just do one Destiny video here and then a Genshin Impact video there. It was full on Genshin Impact daily videos, if not twice a day sometimes, just solely focused. And fortunately, I mean, he's got a big enough subscriber base anyway, but fortunately, YouTube grabbed hold of that and pushed him out, and he got his reward. Now, recently, he has just announced that he's now going to go back to Destiny 2 for this DLC. And I suspect, even though he's been posting Genshin Impact for the last 4 weeks, once he focuses on Destiny 2 again and puts in the work, that he'll be back to where he was prior to covering Genshin Impact. And it's because he's not posting multiple videos of multiple different games at a time. It's solely focusing on one game at a time and just putting all his effort into that one game. And I can only really see that being the only way to do it. If you can watch someone like Arix, for example. Now, he's fortunate enough that he's got a huge subscriber base anyway, but he posts multiple videos of different games, and he doesn't get nearly as many views as someone like MTash with twice as many subscribers because he posts so many different games at one time rather than just focus on one.
Well, so here's my my philosophy on this. I think that there is a certain subscriber count that unlocks your opportunities within YouTube. And I believe that is that 100,000 mark.
Yeah.
Because once you hit 100,000 subscribers, you unlock this next level of content creating. They start promoting you more. They start sending sponsors your way. They start, they even give you, the YouTube plaque or whatever you want to call it. They invest in you because at that time you've invested so much that you've amassed 100,000 subscribers. So then they're like, okay, this person's serious. Let's, give them their due. And I've noticed that with a lot of channels, once they hit this 100,000 mark, they either skyrocket or they do the opposite, where they're like, okay, I just hit 100K, I'm good to go, I'm done.
Yeah.
And sorry, what I've noticed with that is it's like a make or break point, where there we go, where either you are very dedicated, where you hit this milestone and you just start sprinting. Like right now, my mentality as a content creator, this is more of a marathon than a sprint, because I've noticed that within the Division franchise especially, content creators come and go. It's like a revolving door. I'll see 50 different content creators make a video on the Division one week, and then the next week it's like me and two others. And it's like, geez. And that's actually what helped me in the Division as a content creator, was by the time I started and I was making videos, everyone else was basically moved on. This was like they had just announced Division 2.
Yep.
And everyone was like, screw Division 1, this game's been dead, just like they are now with Division 2.
Yep.
And the funny part is there was only a few of us, I'm sure you were included, where we were like, nah, man, this game's getting better. Like every patch,
definitely,
you can actually see it's progressing. And that's where I think a lot of us are getting this like torn heart about Division 2, is because in Division, we were the ones that were like, hey man, it's going to get better, and everyone's like, no, it's not, this game sucks. And then all of a sudden you had Resistance, you had Survival, you had Underground, you had Last Stand, you had Incursions, you had not only DZ 1 through 6, but then you had 6 through 9. And not only did you have gear sets, but then you had classified gear sets. And it kept going. And then the Ninja Bike backpack, where they reworked that, it was just like they gave you everything you wanted and then sprinkled an optimization table on top of that so you could max out all your gear. And then all of a sudden it was a perfect game. It was like, crap, man.
Don't remind me. It's just thinking back at all of that content and all the stuff that came with it.
It was amazing.
So good.
And that's where the crap rolls downhill, is that we basically got this high. We were on a high point where we're like, oh man, Resistance is awesome. I could sit there and play Horde mode all day. Maybe tomorrow I want to do DZ all day. Maybe the next day I want to do Incursions all day. Maybe I want like a survival tournament day where we just all play survival. There were so many options. And the problem was that the fan base was dying off when they started adding all these new things, and then they were getting new people in, but they weren't retaining the customers. Yeah. The customers would come, they'd say, oh, that's a shiny toy. And And then they'd be like, oh, but there's a shiny toy over there. And then they'll just go over there. Where we sat here and we're like, okay, this crap pile turned into gold out of nowhere, and we love it. So then we get this announcement for Division 2, and everyone's like, oh, this is crap, this is crap. And for content creators or people that have been playing since day one, they're like, oh, this is just a complete deja vu from the Division.
Absolutely.
It started off at a weak point, it got even weaker, and then they started adding to it. They started listening. But the problem with this is that we have become the devil's advocate, where everyone will say, oh, the game's crap, or everyone will say, oh, well, this patch sucks, and then we're the ones that are like, well, remember in Division 1, they did this, and then all of a sudden they started doing better and better and better, and then everyone's like, you're full of crap, and it's like, no, like, there is, like, a history of them doing that. However, either there's a completely different hierarchy over there, or everyone is new, but either way, the Division 2 has not done that. And there was hope, especially in the PvE community with the summit, but I think with the execution, like, how are you going to give us a game mode and tell us it's broken? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I actually played it in the. I played it before it came onto PTS as part of a private server that Ubisoft invited me to, and I remember playing it, and you told me about it, didn't you? Yeah, that's right. You reached out to me, didn't you? And because I didn't even get the invite, and then I reached out to the one of my contacts at Ubisoft, and I said, look, I've not been given this. Was I meant to, or do you just, or are we no more? They basically responded to say, no, it was meant to come out to you, but so here it is. But
you're like, are we friends or no?
Are we still friends, or am I? Is this? Did you let go of me and you never told me? But yeah, no, I think I played it after obviously you telling me about it. I'm glad you did, because otherwise I don't think I would have been able to. And I was, it was new content. So, at first you go into it and I was like, oh, this is going to be great. It's new content. And, we've been started that for so long. But, I mean, my first impressions were, where are the windows? And this doesn't feel like a skyscraper. This feels like a warehouse. And it still feels like that today. And I've always said that, it's not always about graphics. I can look at a game like Minecraft, which I still play, and it's not got the best graphics in the world, but it's just really addictive game to play. It's not always about graphics, but with something like this, especially in kind of the Division universe, you've got to make it look good, and it's got to feel like what it is. So for me, I've always said that they can do as much as they want to the inside of that thing in terms of activities and replayability, but until it starts to look like a skyscraper, then I'm probably not going to go back in there, if I'm being honest. It bores the life out of me, which is probably why I spend most of my time playing control points, because we're in the world, it looks great, and there's still a lot of variety. So that's I'm unlikely to go back in there, and I really think they dropped the ball with that. And we've got this new Kenley College kind of thing coming up, probably in the next 6 weeks, and I suspect that's probably going to fall flat as well, unfortunately.
Right. I hope not, man.
Oh, I hope not as well, but and to be honest,
here's another question I've got though, because you just reminded me. What is up with their seasons? So, obviously, if people don't know by now, I'm based in the US and you're based in the UK.
Yeah.
This game was not developed in the US or the UK. This game was developed, in Sweden?
Yeah.
I believe?
I believe so.
Do they not celebrate Halloween?
No. I know what you mean, yeah.
Because, what was it? I believe it was year one. They were doing these apparel events where they were kind of coexisting with like the seasons, like the actual seasons. So you had like a summer apparel event,
Yeah.
you had like a fall apparel event, and then all of a sudden, 2 Halloweens ago, me and some other content creator were like, man, Halloween, this is going to be sick. We're going to get like a cool pig mask. We're going to get like a scary clown mask. We're going to get like a ghost mask. And we got nothing. There was nothing. Not only that, but then come November, we had nothing. And then come December, let me see. I can pull up the name of it. So come December, we got the... Let's see which apparel event that one was called. I think it was Silent Night. Yeah, Silent Night. So we got Silent Night in December of last year.
Yeah.
And that's where you got the skull mask.
Yeah.
And you got, some things that kind of looked a little
Halloween-y, yeah.
But it was during Christmas. And it was like either they don't know the typical holidays, or they don't like it just seemed like there was a little disconnect here, where in like Division 1 we had mask galore.
Yes.
It looked like I was going into like a party city trying to pick out a new Halloween costume, and it was just a wall of masks. You could be a jester, you could be a clown, you could be a pig, you could be a hunter, you could be whatever you want. It was amazing. And not only that, but you were able to wear these masks with any outfit. It didn't matter what you were wearing. It was clearly just, right there on. However, in this game, for example, because we all know I wear this stupid yellow hoodie with this mask, and I can't wear certain masks because it'll take away my yellow hood.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't even give me the opportunity to wear a hood over the top of my mask.
Yeah, I think
for some reason
they've said that.
Yeah, just...
I mean, they've said there's technical issues why that would happen, and I think they're probably right. But I mean, from what I can tell, in terms of something like that, for example, and I watched a video recently from Game Your Daddy actually, where he was talking about the Division being before its time, and I really feel as though that with this game, they decided after year one, basically, that they are going to invest fully into the Division franchise, but for next gen, where those issues, like what you're experiencing with the mask and the hood and stuff, would no longer be an issue on next gen, because the hardware would be able to deal with it better. Right. So that's why I do believe that, when you talk about Halloween and how they're not investing in Halloween this year, but they did in Division 1 and stuff like that, I think it's just because they just really have got to the point where they're kind of abandoning this game, and they are going to be working on a Division 3, which will be next gen and probably next gen only, I imagine. Recently we have Battlefield 6, and that's going to be next gen only, and I think a few games are going to do that, and I feel as though the Division is going to go that way, probably soon. I mean, the optimization station is, it's a big sign for me that they are coming to end of life. I did speak to Yannick about it actually. I did ask. Really? Yeah, I did ask him. How come we're adding the optimization station at this point? Is it safe to say this is the end of once season 4 finishes? Is that this is the end of the Division 2?
Right. And
he responded,
at least from like a narrative standpoint.
Yeah, and he basically responded saying, he didn't say no to that question. He just said, we've been wanting to add the optimization station for which makes me think that basically no one's working on the game then. I can't imagine the optimization station being a feature that, I mean, I'm not a developer, but I can't imagine it being that big of a feature that it requires. So I think that's what I anticipate for the future of this franchise as well, though, is that we are going to get a Division 3, but it probably won't be until March 2022, and it'll be next gen only.
Yep.
Which I'm okay with.
The exact same thought.
Yep. For me, and that's the thing. Like when you said earlier about love hate with this game, that's exactly how I think a lot of people, I think the majority of people feel about this, especially if you're a content creator. But and that's the experience I've had with this game for a while now. And it's that love of me that would love to see a Division 3, but that hate me that says no, let's just call it a day. But I would love
Oh
to see a
yeah,
Division
like
3.
not even going down, yeah, that rabbit hole. I agree. I think, all right, so what they would have to do is on a development hierarchy level type of deal. And reason why I'm saying that is crap rolls downhill. And if you are not set with a good foundation, it's only going to get worse as it goes. And it shows in Division 2 because the man, just the way that they have destroyed with just the development side of this game. They have completely destroyed it, rebuilt it, destroyed it, rebuilt it. To the point where it's like, who's even making this game?
Yeah,
Is
I
it
don't
really
know.
these people? And the problem, I just see a lot of development errors where it's like, I feel as if they maybe have like 4 people working on this game, like 4 to 10. And I feel that it's like 2 people for every aspect of this game, whether it be 2 people doing gear, 2 people doing loot, or 2 people doing like open world stuff, 2 people doing like mission stuff, 2 people doing like environmental stuff. And I feel like it's just not, you're only having so many pairs of eyes look at this thing to where a lot of things are going underlooked, to the point where there's just certain key features, details that we would expect from the game just because we played it so much. Like, what's the best way of me to describe this? So going through the summit, just like you were saying, we played through the private server and all that, and we also got to do the public server to test it, and now it's a full product, and they've updated it, I think twice now. But there are still several rooms within the summit where muscle memory, you would say, hey, this door is open. And then you're like, hey, this is like a little closet looking area. This is where a box should be. And then there's no box. Or you'll find a doorway with a lock on it, and you know from muscle memory, hey, if I go and shoot that lock, unlock the door, there's going to be loot there. But in the summit, there are certain doors where you'll open them and it'll be empty. And it's just like, how did they overlook this? Like, even if that was like an electronics box or like a ceramics bag, something like that, to where it's like, okay, I opened this up to get something out of it. But it seems as if they made that doorway, but they never executed it. It was like, hey, we'll set up all this environmental stuff for you to interact with. However, we're not putting anything in the game for you to actually interact with. It's just like it's like going from, say, like a Nintendo Switch, and then all of a sudden you have like one of those old paddle balls from like the 1930s where it's like a paddle with like a string and then like a little bouncy ball at the end. And it's like you're doing that. And it's like, come on, guys.
So do you think
Like,
that's intentional? Do you think that because do you think that they created these rooms with nothing in it because that's what they wanted to do, or do you think they just never got round to filling those rooms?
I think it has.
What's worse?
I think it's a perfect cocktail of disaster. And let me help you explain that. So, I've been noticing over the years, Red Storm, Massive, Ubisoft, they all have a very touchy, feely, sensitive relationship. to the point where I used to get excited seeing Terry Spire, I believe his name is.
Yeah, terrible, yeah.
Pop up with like his big mug, you remember, in like
Yeah.
the old State of the Games, and he'd sip on his mug and be like, "Oh, PvP's awesome. I was in the Dark Zone the other night and just killed 30 million people. Oh, I love it." And he would get other people excited, and then
Yeah.
you were like, "Oh crap, this dude's like all hyped for PvP. I'm gonna be all hyped for PvP." And then like he would say stuff like, you know, I don't want to give it away, but me and my team have been waxing everyone with LMGs right now, and it's a lot of fun. And then all of a sudden, State of the Game would be over, and I'd be excited. And I'd be like, "Yo, dude, Terry just said LMGs, man. Let's look at LMGs. What's he talking about?" And then by the time the patch would come out, we'd be like, "Oh, LMGs, let's go!" And it was just like this huge like hype machine that was Red Storm. And the reason I keep harping on Red Storm is that for Division 1, what really kept the game alive was PvP.
No doubt.
It really kept the game alive.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the only builds I ever released for Division 1 were all pretty much PvP based.
Yeah, I think I did the same.
I think I had like a Firecrest build maybe that I was using in Underground, but everything else was all PvP, and that's because you had all these options for PvE, whether it be Underground resistance, any of that stuff, incursions. And what we learned over the years, or what I learned over the years, is that you PvE to PvP. And that's how the game was. That's how the whole cycle was. It was, hey man, you don't PvP until you're ready, and you PvE until you have all your gear.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you have all your gear, you go into PvP, you test it out, you see who's the best. And then with the optimization station, like we were saying earlier, for Division 1, that cut out the PvE part of it. Because now I don't have to farm. I don't have to do missions. All I have to do is get the one piece of gear and then go to the optimization station, and I'm good to go.
Yep.
And that's why all of us, all the content creators, we keep saying this is probably the end of Division 2, because once you do that, you cut out PvE. And we know for a fact that Division 2 is so heavily covered in PvE that it's like there's really no light to PvP.
No,
and
PvP is awful.
This goes into my thoughts on Division 3. I actually haven't even made a video on this. I've been pretty quiet about it. But my philosophy is year 3 will be all PvP. So
Really?
what I'm thinking, and it's the only way for it to make sense, because I've been thinking about this for a long time. My thought process is that year 1 you had Division 2. It was a shiny new toy. Everyone's like, hell yeah, this shit's awesome. By the end of year 1, you already had developer drama between Thylander and Red Storm, where I even made a video on it. It was so blatantly obvious, where all of a sudden you had, I think it was TU7, where it was the last time we had heard from Red Storm about PvP.
Yeah.
They had just added team elimination, and they had just removed certain normalizations from the Dark Zone and Conflict. They basically made it normal PvP for the most part.
Yeah.
And then they disappeared. They were gone. Never came back. And within the 1 month, downtime between them doing team elimination and like the last update to PvP, and then them departing the game, I noticed a lot. There was 2 or 3 State of the Games, And every single one of those State of the Games, PvP was mentioned. And when PvP was mentioned, the massive developers got heated, or they got rubbed the wrong way. And you could tell, even in State of the Game, to the point where it actually bled over to Twitter, and Frederick Thylander basically was like, we don't touch PvP. If you want to talk about PvP, go talk about the people that are responsible for PvP.
Oh, wow.
And it came off so bad that he actually stopped doing State of the Games.
Yeah, he did.
Shortly
Yeah.
after that. And what I'm noticing is that these developers have a boss. I don't know who exactly. I don't want to say anything like that, but I know that there's a boss somewhere that is watching what they do in social media, and they get heavily punished. Because another example is Chris Gansler.
Yeah, he's moved on, hasn't he?
He came at me pretty negatively, and then he stopped doing State of the Games.
He's moved on to Watch Dogs, hasn't he? No?
Yeah, he's gone.
Mm.
Yeah, I have this weird. Well, I'm kind of getting off course, but I'll get back to it. But I have this weird feeling that they're being watched heavily by somebody that is overseeing all their social media stuff. So, I have a few developers that'll actually DM me from their private accounts because their public accounts are either being, heavily monitored, or they can't say anything.
Yeah, okay.
And I feel that once they step out of line, or they say something that their boss doesn't like, he's like, look, man, you can't be doing this. Like, this community is already like touchy as it is, and you just threw gasoline on the fire. So can you go over to, Avatar and work on that for a little bit, please? Like, you're creating a dumpster fire over here. We don't need it.
Yeah.
And then they basically take that developer and move them, because it's like, look, dude, like, this community is so touchy. If you say something out of line, you're just going to mess us up. And this is our moneymaker. Because whether we like it or not, Division 2 is a moneymaker. They are making money.
It is. When Warlords dropped, they made a ton of money.
Yeah. And it's not 4 weeks. Every 12 weeks, I believe, is a season. So then they're making $10 or 10 quid for every single player.
Yeah.
So you're getting, even if that's only like 100,000 players, that's still over, well over $1 million.
Yeah.
And they're making a lot of money, especially from the apparel caches, especially from the season passes, the expansions, this and that. So my philosophy, going back to what I was saying, is that year one, you had the normal game. It was shiny, and then all of a sudden people started, they started getting into cliques. Massive got into a clique, and they didn't want to fuck with Red Storm. Red Storm got into a clique. They didn't want to talk about PvE. So then you knew what development team was doing what. You knew who to talk to. If I were to tweet something PvP, I would talk about Red Storm. And if I would talk something about PvE, I'd talk about Massive. And what this did is it separated them to the point where it actually kicked out one of the teams.
Yeah.
And then you don't even have a PvP team. Because think of it this way. If you were making a video game and you were like, hey man, I got PvE down, don't even touch it. Just let me know what you want me to do to the gear and the weapons, and you take care of PvP. And then I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I'll take care of PvP, just make sure your weapons and your gear are straight. And then that's it. But if you sit there and go on social media and you're like, hey, PvP sucks dick, doesn't it? And then everyone's like, yeah, it does. And then you're like, well, I didn't develop it, ha 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 ha. And then all of a sudden I look like crap because I'm the one that developed PvP. So then I'm like, yo, dude, deuces, I'll go work on another video game. And then it's from a social media standpoint, that's how it happened. Because I have a whole damn video, I think it's called like Dev Drama or something like that, where I've got a whole list of tweets from Frederick and Yannick and people like that, where they're just talking exclusively about Massive in Ubisoft. They're not talking about Red Storm. They're not talking about PvP. They're like, look, we don't touch that. We only do this. And I think it pushed Red Storm away, where it's like, you know, we know that our player base likes PvE so much that we are willing to go all in on PvE, and the PvP players will just stick around. And that's kind of how year one ended, because year one ended and all the PvP players were like, what the hell? And then all the PvE players are like, year two, year two, year two. And then you had Warlords. Or, no. Then you had Hardcore mode.
Oh.
So then Hardcore mode comes out, and they don't touch it.
No.
I don't know about you, but I've got a level 40 Hardcore character. And I've done all of it Hardcore. I've beaten the whole damn game. And I got nothing out of it, dude. I was so upset. There was no patches. There was no rewards. There was no appearance. There was no outfit. Nothing. And it was just upsetting. There wasn't even a achievement for the game. It was just like, oh, hey, I beat it on Hardcore. Congratulations. And I, like, patted myself on the back.
It feels like they've done that with a few things, where it kind of feels like they've just added stuff to the game to see whether it's something that they could consider maybe for future stuff to another game, like you say, Hardcore mode, which was just a mode. I mean, I got to level 40 and I think I died in a stupid way. I think a crate fell on me or something, and that was it. I was done at that point. I was like, there's no way. But like you said, you don't get any rewards, and it feels like there's quite a few things in this game and I feel as though it feels like they just want to see what the reception is like, and if it's a bad reception, okay, we're not going to use that for future content if we make another game, and if the reception's good, then it's like, okay, well, you know, people like that, so maybe we'll develop that, but in the next game rather than here, we'll just put it in, see what people think. Because Hardcore mode, when I first heard about it, I thought that sounds interesting. You know, if they add some rewards to it and stuff, then that's something I'm gonna have a go with. But yeah, like you said, it hasn't been touched since it came out, has it?
Right, and when it first came out, I think I remember you did something about the YOLO hat. You remember that? Where it was like, hey, we get rewards for playing Hardcore. Look at this cool hat.
Yeah.
And
that's right.
And it fell off. That was the only thing. It was like, oh, you get a hat. That's cool. And then that was it. There was no outfit. Like, I don't know if you know this, but for PvP, there's a hidden rogue outfit in Division 2.
I didn't know that.
And you get rogue shoes, pants, shirt, like a little skull scarf that goes around your neck, and then I think you get like a helmet or something and some glasses. But what it did is when you progressed in Dark Zone or Conflict, I think it's like every 10 levels, something like that. But every 10 levels or so, you'd get a random piece of gear in your inventory, and it was new.
I didn't know that.
Like pop up. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And they didn't have that for Hardcore at all. There was not, like, you had the yellow hat, but that was just for starting Hardcore. And then that was it. My take on the Hardcore thing, because I've mentioned it to certain developers at least 3 or 5 different times now. I've thoroughly bugged them about Hardcore. And my thought on it, and what somebody brought up to me, is that they have such a skeleton crew for the Division 2 right now. And the way that they are developing is, say they're sitting at a round table and they're like, okay guys, you have 3 months, what ideas can you give me? And then all of a sudden, Steve is like, "Oh well, Kinley College." And
Good
then
voice.
everyone's like, "Shut up, Steve! No one cares about Kinley College. Shut up!" And then all of a sudden, someone else is like, "Hey, Bob's got an idea." And then Bob's like, "Well, I remember in Wildlands there was a nightmare mode, and basically nightmare mode was hardcore." Or I think it was in Ghost. Anyways, it was in another Tom Clancy game, and it was called Nightmare Mode. And it was hardcore. The exact same things. I believe it's in Wildlands. And it is a direct copy and paste game mode.
Right, okay.
It's the exact same thing. Same exact thing to where it's just the game, and if you die, it ends. And that's it. There was no like added content, no added rewards, no added apparel. It's just, hey, it's the exact same game, but if you die, you die. And it's really sad.
Sounds awful.
It's really sad. Right, but that's how it looks. Because even right now, if you go to the main menu of the game and you start a new character, it'll say, "Do you want to start hardcore?" And then it says in parentheses beta.
Yeah,
And
it's been in
like,
beta
dude,
now for how long?
for over a year, yeah.
Longer than PUBG.
Right. Right. Yeah, and PUBG's made billions.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So that's my deal on the hardcore thing. So we ended year one. PvP and PvE was kind of going in their own directions. They kind of pushed PvP out, and then we got hardcore mode. Now for year two, this is like the longest thing ever. So for year two, year two comes out, and they're like, "All right, guys, Red Storm's out of the picture. We know that PvP is in this stagnant place. However, the people from Epic Games, they're saying that they're going to send us some more people. So what we want to do is we want to capitalize on what the people want. And then when you look at the demographic as a whole, obviously people want PvE.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the history of toxicity within the Dark Zone, because the negative stigma PvP has in multiplayer as a whole, you know, all these reasons, which is fine. So what they decided to do was the raids, which got heavily delayed, and all the other problems I don't even want to talk about. And then they came up with the idea for the seasons, and then finally the summit, all of which are all PvE related. Obviously we got more gear, we got more weapons, we got more exotics. Those are all cool things and all, but this is all PvE. So now that we're hitting the end of year two, we have seasons, which we've all pretty much mocked up as like a copy and paste of each other. I mean, global events are horrible.
Yeah.
Even after the rework, they're horrible. They don't even feel the same as your Division 1. The manhunts are cool. However, the skill variants are not worth it.
Agreed.
What was it? What was year one or season 1? The skill variant was that a
Shot trap?
Okay. So look at
One
it
of the
here,
traps.
and I'm about to explain this to you perfectly. Season 1, shock trap. Season 2, repair trap. Season 3, shrapnel trap. They're all the traps, and they all suck.
You know what's coming
And
with
that's
season 4
horrible.
though, don't you?
No, you don't.
I do.
But you do?
I know the new skill that's coming.
What is it?
It's a new pulse skill called Achilles.
Oh yeah, you just
I covered that earlier on.
just this morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
So
just-
I
yeah.
don't know what that is, but I'm glad it's a pulse skill because I like pulse, but no idea what it is. The name could even be wrong, but yeah.
So, I mean, that's a cool name, and I can already speculate on that name.
Okay.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I hear Achilles, obviously you need to know a little bit of Greek mythology,
Yeah.
but Achilles was a super, I mean, one might even want to call him the meta of human beings.
Yeah. He
And
was.
and he was just unstoppable to the point where his one weakness was his Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
And I think that when thinking of that kind of history, if you're going to call something Achilles, that means it's going to be super strong. However, it's going to make you vulnerable. So we'll see where that goes. Maybe like a glass cannon type deal, but with a skill. You know what I mean?
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that would be pretty dope.
Where you put out a certain amount of damage, but you actually, for a brief period of time, you take on more damage.
Right. So, what if
Basically, glass
you
cannon, but it's a
pulsed?
skill.
What if you pulse them, but when you pulse them, it pulses yourself? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you pulse them, you get amplified damage. However, when you pulse them, it shows yourself, and if they shoot you while you are pulsed, then you take that damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
I think that would be cool.
Yeah, there's my little one-liner for whatever that skill's gonna be. All right, so where was I going with this? Okay, so we're at the summit now. We're ending year 2, and they're ending the seasons. Basically, it sounds like the narrative is ending because Fei Lao is going to be the main boss for season 4, which was the entire story of Division 2 was surrounding this, because we helped Washington D.C. get under control. All of a sudden, New York is getting worse and it's flooding over to us, so then we go over there to help stop it. I mean, in reality, this story is ended. We're probably going to end up killing Fei Lao, and then the story is gone.
I don't think we will.
Well, yeah, and that's the speculation, is that maybe that's how Division 3 starts. Maybe it's, maybe you mess her up, but somebody, some hooded figure comes and rescues her. And then all of a sudden you're like, who the hell was that? Oh, man. And then, boom, Division 3.
Yeah, I really feel as though if it were to end with us killing Fei Lao, that they would have really underutilized the hunters. Like, I still feel as though there's a real story there that needs to be told.
I do too. I completely, yes. The hunters is the most interesting thing in the entire franchise.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because you don't know who they fight for. You don't know who trained them. You don't even know where they got their mask. You don't know anything about them.
Yeah, exactly. And I can't imagine. I can't imagine a more exciting as being the thing that we are. Like, they almost feel like they are the top of the chain. I think I said that Division 1 was us just trying to get back control. Division 2 was us just trying to help everyone recover, revenge, or taking out the top, and that being more hunter focused. That for me is a story, but whether they do that or not, I don't know.
Right. I got you. I don't think they're going to do anything on that in this game. I think if they do, it'll be in the next one.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Because, well, so I believe it's Bruce who's been introducing all these hunters. But he said a long time ago that he loved hunters and he wanted to see more. And we've seen hunters in the Summit. We've seen hunters even in this new Manhunt, which would kind of explain that maybe Fei Lao either controls them or works with them kind of deal.
Yeah.
Because, the more active these hunters are becoming with the manhunt, it kind of shows that maybe they're working together in some way. I think we'll get more hunters with season 4. But as far as like their lore and their background, I don't think we're going to know anything about these hunters until maybe Division 3, or unless someone writes another book.
Yeah, I think I think hunters appeared in season 4 in terms of the manhunt, but also I feel as though this code name Nightmare as well.
Yeah. So, getting back to my philosophy for year 3. No, we're really close. We've been doing some good detours. So the summit has already had its numerous updates to the point where they're just going to do little bitty tweaks now. I think they're happy with the way the summit is now. Basically, you can change your difficulty directives, whatever. You can change your targeted loot to whatever it is. They're giving you an optimization table. I mean, there's all of this signifies that they are pretty much complete with PvE. Kind of like how they were in Division 1, where they released Resistance, and then that was it. It was like, hey guys, this is your last big game mode. Have fun. You can play this over and over and over, and we out. Peace. And that's basically how it was. We got to play Resistance. We got to do all that. I mean, even I remember who was the Netherlands guy? Marco Style. So I remember Marco Style, when all that came out, he was like, the first one to get to like, wave 100 or whatever it was. And that was it. That was the sign that the game was done. You had your last game mode, you had your optimization station, and then that was it. Go play PvP. Now, fast forward to now, the only thing left is this code name Nightmare. And I mean, this kind of piggybacks on my Halloween thing, where I just think in Sweden they just don't really celebrate holidays like we do. And for some reason, when it comes to Christmas, they are in like a darker space, kind of like Krampus. And which is cool. I mean, I love, like Nightmare Before Christmas and all that. So I'm a pretty good fan of Halloween and Christmas. But I'm thinking, kind of like what you said with the Hunters, I think that they might make Kinley College, because it's 3 different areas, right?
Yeah.
I think it's three areas, and then the last one you just get your reward. So they might do like this really cool, like haunted house kind of flip, where they just flip each location, make it a little bit darker, and then maybe add a hunter for each location. And then maybe they'll add like a new exotic or a new apparel outfit, something that you get at the end. Like instead of the diamond bag, you're going to get whatever. And I think that's how they're going to do it. It's not at all, I'll repeat, not. This is not going to save Kinley College.
No.
I think Kinley College was a great idea. Same with the classified assignments. If you remember those.
I do remember those, yeah.
They were great ideas, and the stories were there, and the environment was there. It felt good, but the execution was horrible.
Yeah.
Like each classified assignment, you actually felt like you were doing a whole new thing. It felt good.
Yeah, it did.
But then I just felt it just like fell on its face somehow. Same with Kinley College. At first, Kinley College was like interesting. It was like, hey, you do this investigate thing, then you figure out how to open up a certain door. It's pretty fun, kind of like a puzzle, and you have fun. But again, it just like fell on its face.
I think I remember actually hyping the puzzle part up quite a bit, actually, when I heard that there was going to be these little puzzles, and it wasn't just going to be almost it wasn't kind of just going to be like almost like a resistance thing. I enjoyed resistance from the Division 1, but I like the idea of puzzles and stuff. But after the first run through, I was like, yeah, there's no reason for me to go back in there. I'm done.
Right.
There's
Once
no
you got the
replayability
diamond
to it.
back, yeah. And actually, what it reminded me of was raids from the first Destiny. Because in the first Destiny, all their raids were different locations, and it was a puzzle.
Yeah.
Once you understood the puzzle, and once you knew how to kill the boss, you were good to go. Go to the next stage. And I felt like it was kind of like that, but it just didn't feel good. It was like, okay, I'm done with this place. Where do I go next? Oh, I don't know. And then you just like search around Kinley College for like 10 minutes, and then you're like, okay, I guess I'll go down to the subway. It didn't feel fun. So I
No,
hope
it didn't.
the nightmare, whatever BS, I hope it's pretty cool. I can
Yeah.
stay hopeful, but we'll see.
Yeah, I will be hopeful about it, but I think I'm a little concerned that I'm not concerned, but it's time limited, isn't it? So I don't
Right.
I don't really know what the deal is with that, unless it ties into the end of season. I presume it's going to tie into the end of season 4 and what happens with that, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe the season 4 storyline will bleed over to Kenley College, to where basically the story is taking us over there, but now Kinley College is different. Now it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be. I mean, there's a bunch of ways to make these concepts sound and look really cool. The problem is that I think they're using like 4 to 10 developers, and they're
Yeah.
just falling on their faces.
Yeah, I think so as well.
Finishing up, and then you'll actually like this this philosophy of mine. So now I'm on to year 3. So Summit's over, Code Nightmare's over, year 3. They are done with PvE. PvE's done. You've got your game mode. You can target loot whatever you want, and they give you the optimization station. That completely kills 99% of your grinding and farming. Because once you get the piece, now you're good to go. Just optimize it, be on your way. So, the easiest way, and I've put quite a bit of thought of this because I PvP my ass off. I'm not going to lie. I think I'm on my 3rd character right now that's on level like 95 in conflict, and then I'll have all my characters level 100. So
Wow.
I've played quite a bit.
Yeah, just a bit. Wow.
Yeah, I've played some PvP. Now, what I'm thinking, and this is a very easy thing to do, and I think everybody in the community would love it, is you can bring back Last Stand.
Oh, they have
And
to.
the way to do it is you have DZ East, West, and South. It is beyond easy. I think this would be the easiest way as a developer to do it, is you can pick a 2-block radius of each of these dark zones, just like they did in Division 1, and make it into a Last Stand match. You can easily do that.
Yeah.
You know, you could take the center 4-block radius of East, West, and South and just smack, a couple nodes in there and say, Last Stand, here you guys go. And everyone would love it. Not only do you get to recycle your own materials, being the dark zones, but then you're creating a new game mode within that. So half your work is already done for you. All you have to do is add a couple nodes and then put matchmaking. And then that's it. I think that would be the easiest way for them to promote PvP. Because we have these rumors, where these rumors are that they're going to bring a dark zone into New York. Now,
Yeah.
the only way for me to help get people to understand this is going back to Division 1. So in Division 1, there was a website where, yes, people actually read websites. And the Division had a website where it showed a roadmap, a timeline. And in the divisiongame.com or whatever it was called, there was a tab for Dark Zone and PvP. Now in Division 1, they said that we would get up to 12 Dark Zone stages, or whatever you want to call it. It would go up to 12, and we would have Central Park.
Yeah, I remember that.
Obviously, we only got up to 9 Dark Zones and no Central Park. So they completely deleted that off their website, and it was like it never happened. Now, for here, we have all the indications that there is a spot available for a Dark Zone in New York. There's actually quite a bit of map space if you zoom out when you're in New York.
And there's like entrances as well, what feels like entrances to what could be a Dark Zone as well.
Right, and you can even see like walls and fences, stuff like that. You can see where it kind of looks like a DZ entrance. Well, the problem with that is that they would have to completely make a new environment. They would have to completely make new everything to make this Dark Zone from scratch, essentially. So I think that the last stand approach would be a lot easier. And then if not, if they really have to keep skirmish, team elimination, domination, if they have to keep all those, worst case scenario, you could add 3 more maps to the cycle, and then just add it, DZ East, South, and West. Just make a little map. Either way, we would be happy, because in a sense, you're adding PvP content, but in reality, you're just recycling your own environment. So it's like, hey guys, they really, really want PvP. We don't have the time or resources. What's the easiest way to do it? And then, Johan or somebody could be like, hey, if we take this little square of this map, this little square of this map, and this little square of this map, we can make a PvP map. And then that's it. You're done. Because in skirmish or in conflict, you don't get the Dark Zone. It doesn't feel like the Dark Zone. So
no, it doesn't.
If you were to incorporate the Dark Zones into conflict, it would probably feel a little bit better. And then not only that, but a lot of people that play conflict don't necessarily play Dark Zone. So what this could do is this could also help the conflict players learn the Dark Zone maps. So then they can go into the Dark Zone and they'll feel more comfortable. Hey, I know this place. If I hide over here, I can have a good vantage point to this, and this, and stuff like that. I just think there's a lot of easy ways as a developer to really help out the PvP community without really overstretching your resources. And
I think it sounds like you've definitely thought about this, and it does make sense. I mean, I would love for them to really focus on PvP, because, like you said at the start, I've always been the sort of person that plays PvE to get gear for PvP. I do that in every looter shooter I've ever played, and I think every successful looter shooter does that well. And obviously here it's PvE only, pretty much 95% PvE, to the point where I've said, if they are going to make a Division 3, it should probably just be PvE only at this point, just because they really just don't seem interested in PvP at all. But I'd never really thought about it the way you had, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, I've seen videos recently. I don't know if you've seen that video from I can't remember his name. Dade Few.
Yeah, I remember.
And I mean, you got to take what he says with a grain of salt. But he has been right in the past. Is that we are actually getting a year 3 DLC. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I don't imagine it will be. If I'm being honest, just like you said, I don't think there's a whole lot of people working on this game, and I can't foresee 10 people working on a DLC for year 3, especially because of the optimization station, which, as you said, it does pretty much take 99% of the grind out of the way. You get one piece and that's it. You're sorted.
Right.
And so the only thing that I thought of, which Gamey Daddy actually said, and I thought about this first off when I first heard about the optimization station. My initial reaction was, well, maybe they're doing this because we're going to get a level increase with free DLC, and people hate level increases, especially in this community, because I like to refarm gear. But if we've got the optimization station, then that refarming will be a lot easier, and people might not be as bothered about the transition to level 40. That's the only thing I can think of where it would be a possible positive, or certainly look at something different to just the end of certainly PvE in this game. But I like your idea. I never even thought about that, to be honest.
Yeah. Well,
I think
for one.
The only thing that I guess I'd be concerned about with your idea is that there would be a lot of PvE players, making up 95% of people, that would play the game for a couple of weeks. They're not interested in PvP because regardless of what they do to it, it's just not their cup of tea, or they've been so burnt by it throughout this life cycle that they're just not interested in playing it, that whatever resources they put into PvP for year 3 is just not gonna. It's only gonna obviously be good for those that play PvP, and I presume it's quite a small audience.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go back and play it, but
Well, we say small audience, but that's only compared to the PvE audience.
Yeah, of
because
course.
there are several channels and several content creators where all they do is PvP. And they've got some pretty heavy backing. The problem with increasing the gear score or the gear level is you're not only doubling down, but you're putting all your chips into PvE. And I think that would definitely be the nail in the coffin for PvP players.
Oh, I agree. I think so as well.
Because you do that and you are forcing PvP players to PvE to get higher level stuff, to then optimize it, to then do, this and that. And that completely negates all that time you could spend PvPing. And not only that, but then if you don't add PvP content, like I just feel like it would die.
I can see that, but I part of me thinks that the developers. I mean, I don't know the developers well enough to know where their allegiances are, but I don't know any of the developers currently working on the game that play PvP. At all.
And every time they've been asked, they don't say anything.
They say
and
nothing
every
at all.
time, I completely agree.
And I don't know whether that's a sign of them just being hushed because there is something in the works for year 3, or it's just a sign that actually they're just not interested in PvP at all, and in that audience. So they're just going to double down on PvE only, basically. I don't see a world in the next year where PvP and PvE are both catered to. It's going to be one or the other.
Right.
And someone's going to get, one of the audiences is going to get burnt, unfortunately.
And that's why I'm hoping that with this optimization station and all that'll make the PvE people happy enough. But I do understand that I am biased just because I play PvP way more than I ever play PvE, but that's just what I like to do. So my ideas are very biased. They're very PvP heavy.
Yeah,
but I do understand as like a developer, the PvE players are what gives you money. So as a business, it makes sense. It's like, hey, look, we can make 5% of the people happy, but if we make the other 95% of the people happy, we make a lot of money. So what do you guys want to do? And it becomes a no-brainer.
Exactly. And I think they've done a lot of things in this game that point towards that being where they're going. I mean, you just got to look at the fact that Division 1 was in a pretty good place at the end of year 2 going into year 3, or in year 3 it was a good place. I think for the most part people were pretty happy. You still get your bugs and stuff, but generally people were pretty happy, and they could have easily just carried on with that game. They could have easily developed that more and more and more. We didn't need a Division 2, to be honest, but we got it because of money, and that was always going to be the case. The audience for the Division 1 had probably dropped off to the point where it was just way more financially viable just to make another game and get those numbers and get that money in. I think Ubisoft have a habit of doing this with a lot of their games. You look at Far Cry, they're on Far Cry 6 at the moment, which I think Red Storm's actually working on. They worked on Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 5, Far Cry 4. And they've got a habit of doing this. So that's what kind of reassures me that there will be a Division 3. But I think also they are just going to really focus on the primary source of money. And I think that shows with this year, where they've literally they've done nothing for PvP. They won't even talk about it. You look at all the questions in chat, and they're just, nope, we're not even. They've done a few little changes here and there, stuff that's really broken in PvP, but for the most part, they don't seem interested in it. I can't see that changing, if I'm honest. I hope that's not the case, because before the Division 2, I predominantly a PvP player. I play Destiny 2. When I play Destiny 2, I play PvP. That's pretty much all I play. I play Call of Duty. That's just PvP. The only games I actually play are PvP. Basically, the Division 2 is the only game I play where I only play PvE.
Right, and that's a huge problem.
Which is a huge problem, because I'd much rather be like a Division where, I interact with the PvE, but my end goal is to get the gear for PvP. And this game just doesn't offer that at all. At least for me, anyway.
Right. I completely understand that. And that's why I'm hoping that. So, we're getting to the end of this. So let's we're at year 3. We're talking about PvP, and then obviously both of us think that after year 3, there's going to be the Division 3 in probably March 2022.
So.
Or 2020. Yeah, 2022. Jeez, time's flying. So my guess is that it'll be Nightmare mode. Everyone goes to the holidays happy, because we're probably going to get something cool. My expectations are actually pretty high.
Mine are not.
Well, they have to, dude. This is to the point where you're getting Cyberpunk, you're getting Assassin's Creed, you're getting Call of Duty, you're getting all these games. They have to have something that's going to get the public's eye. They have to. And I think they're going to do that. Everyone's going to get happy around the holidays, and then it's going to be, hey guys, you've waited for a whole year, and here we go, PvP. Bum, bum, bum. And then they release the red curtain, and then they're going to get us super hyped for something that probably won't get executed as well, but it's going to be something new. And that's all the PvP community really wants. Because I'll be completely blunt about team elimination. I think that is the worst game mode ever made. I think that it was the worst, best thing they added to PvP.
Oh, I totally agree.
It was executed. Actually, the idea's there. So you have 4v4, 1 life, and then once your whole team dies, that's it. Best of 7. It sounds really fast. It sounds really easy. But what the developers weren't understanding is that every time you wiped, you'd have to hit a loading screen. Every time the round would begin, you'd hit a loading screen. Every single time. To the point where one game of team elimination will take you 30 minutes plus. because you have up to 7 rounds, 5 rounds a minute, and you have loading times between each round. So you're actually more towards 40 minutes for one game. Ridiculous. And I understand as like a developer, it sounds awesome. It's like, hey dude, we got this new game mode, it's sick, you only have one life, you do this, you're good to go. But with all the loading times and then this and that, it takes forever. And that's where I think it's like the best worst thing, because it was a great idea. But once it comes down to like the loading times and all that, it becomes a horrible idea. And that's why everyone just plays Skirmish, because it's just really fast, really easy. You can get in and out, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I guess in terms of that, what I'll say is that I would have been playing PvP probably at that point, and when I heard about team elimination, I completely rejected it. And I think the reason why is not because I don't think the mode itself could work. It's just because I don't think that's what it's being more selfish. It's not something I wanted in the game. I felt that when the PvP in this game, and again, I've not played nearly as much as you, but I think I'm only level 32 on one character, so I've not played. That just shows. Whereas Division 1, I spent the majority of my time in PvP. I guess it just shows how little I've spent in this one. But if that was to me with PvP, what they were trying to do is something a little bit more tactical, a little bit more team orientated, rather than the Division, which was just a cluster pretty much. But whilst the Division 1 was a cluster, it was, at least for me, fun. Whereas with this game, and certainly when I heard about team elimination, I was like, that for me is just like the least fun type of game mode. Like if I ever play any other PvP game, I never play game modes like that. That's not for me. But I also felt as though there was a large portion of the community that just didn't want that sort of game mode. And I could be wrong. I mean, you've probably spoke to a lot more people about PvP than me, but is that something that you feel as though people want in PvP, or do you feel as though they would just want something that's a little bit more fun, fast-paced like Skirmish?
At this point, it's been so long that anything, to be honest.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I can't even count how many times I've heard Hamish or Yannick say, hey, we see all your comments for PvP, but we're not going to talk about that right now. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, so, they know.
I think in that Dave View video, he talked about for Division 3 them working on an open world experience, which you get to toggle whether your open world is PvE only or PvEVP. Like,
interesting.
Just one giant last. I mean, there's a possibility that they do something similar in Year 3 of this game. I don't think it'll happen, but what do you think about that?
I don't think that'll be incorporated in this game, but I do know, and I have mentioned it to a lot of people, that I believe his name's Julian Garrity, right?
Yeah.
He has mentioned well over 3, 4, 5 times. He has mentioned a solo PvE game.
Oh yeah, I've seen that
within the Division world, and he's mentioned it personally numerous times, especially on Twitter. He loves to say it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And his reason behind it is that it would be a true post-apocalyptic Division where you are the savior and it's all about you, which sounds really cool. And I actually agree with you, where if I was in say New York City, well, actually, hold on. New York City was the first game. So let's say London, because I think going to London would be pretty cool.
That'd be awesome.
Well, it's actually really easy, because if you go back to Call of Duty 4, you go back to Modern Warfare 2, you go back to Modern Warfare 3, and so on and so on, there are numerous, even just Call of Duty games, where they have used so many aspects of London into their levels and their missions. I think it would be super easy to do, because I don't know. I think it would be I think it'd be easy to incorporate that. Maybe in season 4, Fei Lao gets rescued and then taken over to London. I mean, I don't know.
Or to Russia with the hunters.
Oh, you think the hunters are Russian? Ooh,
No,
that's
I
sick.
don't. I'm just going off what people have
That's
said.
sick. My name is Ivan. His name's Ivan. We're all Ivan.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Ivan hunters. That's pretty funny. What was hold on. Before Fei Lao, we were talking about the PvP. Right. Oh yeah, the single player. Right. So I could imagine that being in, like, say, London, and then all of a sudden I'm just walking through the streets and I get everything I want for right then, and then I toggle, boom, PvP. And then all of a sudden the map, maybe just like the contrast, kind of like if you go into the main menu of this video game and you go from hardcore character to normal,
Yeah.
you'll see the contrast in the background get a little bit lighter and darker. What if they did that?
Yeah,
What
that
if
would be
all of
cool.
a sudden you're walking through the streets of London and say it's like noon, and you toggle PvP, and then all of a sudden it's like 6 o'clock at night. The sun's about to be down, everything's dark, you can't really see too much, and then boom, PvP. And then you have to watch your back.
There's so much
I mean, that'd be
potential.
pretty cool. That'd be really cool.
Would be cool. That would be. I guess for me, I kind of. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking of that, and I'm just in my
You
head.
know,
I'm
this is
thinking,
proving. This is proving that we should be creative directors for these development companies.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause,
Because
at this point, I could just bend over and crap out all these ideas. There's so
Yeah.
many ideas.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't have done what they did with the Division 2. I wouldn't have just gone a completely just U-turned on what was turning out to be
Well-
fairly successful towards the end of Division 1.
Well, what's your thought on that? Because I guarantee that you've talked to different developers than I talk to, and vice versa. So I'm sure you know different things than I do. But my thought is, so the Division 1 ended on a high note. Everyone is high-fiving. They're having company parties. They made a whole bunch of profit. The Division 2 is going to be launched. Everyone has job security. Everyone's happy. They're partying. And then all of a sudden, Ubisoft Massive's like, hey guys, who wants to go to Avatar? And then everyone in the whole damn room raises their hand. And they're like, I'll go to Avatar, I'll go to Avatar, I'll go to Avatar. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, you guys were all successful with this video game, go to Avatar. Because it took several years for the Division to be made.
Yeah.
I almost want to go as far as saying it probably took them twice as long to do the Division as it was the Division 2.
Yeah, I think it was probably, 5 years maybe for the Division?
Because you remember that one E3 was years before the game was even released.
Yeah, I'm not sure how long it was. I think it was, 2000?
I think it was
13?
2 years, right? It was like
Yeah.
13 or 14.
Yeah, so I
and
think
the
it's
game
probably-
came out in 16.
Yeah, so it must be like 6 years maybe to make the first one, possibly?
Right. So think of it this way, right? So you have a development company, and it's like, hey guys, I know you just spent 5 years. You guys are sick of this place. You did a great job. Everyone knows what they're doing. We want to incorporate this exact same thing, but in Pandora. I believe that's what it's called. Pandora.
Yeah.
And then be like, hey guys, all of a sudden, instead of agents, you're these avatars. Instead of New York City, you're in Pandora. We're going to do a completely new world, so you don't have to sit there and color match every block of New York City to look like it. And you can do whatever you want. Creative freedom. Not only that, but the video game is set to launch close to when the movie launches, and every time they delay the movie, they delay the video game, so that gives those developers even more time to dedicate to making this game whatever. As far as me personally, I know that these development teams are going to make a great Avatar game. However, me personally, I'm too invested in worlds like Division, Destiny, so on and so forth, that I really don't think I'm going to trade that in for Avatar. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be all that interested in Avatar, if I'm honest. Like, I enjoy the film and stuff like that, but unless I find it difficult to really kind of, what's the word, to really invest in a character in a game, or characters, or a story in a game that doesn't center around actual human beings. And I know that the Avatar does, kind of, because there is humans in it, but the majority of it is these obviously otherworldly, well, they're humans, but not, aren't they? They're big blue Smurfs.
Right.
But
It's basically like alien. It's foreign to us. It's
yeah,
not
and that
like,
to
it's
me,
not humans.
yeah, and I know I'm gonna personally, I will not be able to I just won't be able to get a hold of that. That to me is not gonna, it's not gonna see me through. Well, I'm much more interested in games which actually have human beings in it that I can really kind of get a hold of, and that for me is going to be enough for me not to actually probably. I might play Avatar possibly, but to be honest, I don't reckon I am. And now at this point, I think it's been delayed till 2022 or 23 now, hasn't it?
I believe 2022 or the end of 2021, because it's coexisting with the movies, and
Yeah,
they keep.
yeah. That's
I
been delayed,
believe
hasn't it?
that the reason this game is going to be so big is that there's supposed to be three back to back to back Avatar movies for 3 years, back to back to back, kind of like Lord of the Rings, where if you remember throughout the early 2000s, Lord of the Rings had like a monopoly on the box office. It was like, hey, we know come November, December, Lord of the Rings is going to come out, and we know that 1 billion people are going to go watch it. And they're building the exact same hype with Avatar because Disney bought those rights, and Disney has the Pandora Park in Florida at Magic Kingdom, and at Disney Magic Kingdom you can actually go into the world of Avatar and stuff like that. It's pretty dope. I went there earlier this year, and what I'm thinking, the way the Division franchise is going is that it's supposed to go on for a prolonged amount of time, kind of like Destiny, where if you remember when Destiny first was released, Bungie said it was a 10-year commitment, that the Destiny storyline would go on for at least 10 years. And I feel that that's how you get people to be invested in your game, because you have PC games like World of Warcraft, where it's been decades, and they keep coming out with new expansions, and they keep adding on to their player base, which is well up into the hundreds of millions. And that's how these video games are making their money. What they do is they want to keep their audience coming back for years. That way they keep their money coming in. So with that being said, James Cameron actually is slated to do 3 sequels, and he's already got all 3 of them filmed, and they are in post-production right now. The problem is, with COVID and everything, they want to make these next 3 Avatar films the biggest films ever made, because that first Avatar film, up until Avengers Endgame, was the #1 movie ever made. So they're trying to continue that streak, because if they can do this and make 3 movies back to back to back, they can personally monopolize the box office and video game industry for 3 years at least, because everyone's focus will be on Avatar. It'll be like, oh crap, this movie was amazing, the next one's coming out next year. Hey, while we wait, we could play the game. And then all of a sudden the game is constantly updating to kind of get you ready for the next one.
Yeah.
And then when the next movie comes out, they get you to build up into the next one. And then all of a sudden you have this video game where you're going to get at least 4 years out of that video game, because you can release it a few months before the first movie, and then you can do the last update, a few months after the last movie is released on video. And what you do there is you have work stability for all those developers. So they probably went from Division to Avatar knowing that this was going to be a long-term project, so they probably signed pretty long contracts. And then you have all the hype coming from this movie and Disney to where they're going to promote the hell out of this.
Yeah,
which tells us that as a content creator, it would be smart to cover that video game, but as like a middle-aged man, or whatever you want to call it, a dude like in his 30s and his 40s, it's not as it doesn't stand out to us as much as like Division 3 would.
No.
Where if I had to choose between Division 3 and Avatar, obviously I'm going to go with Division 3.
Yeah.
It sounds way more cool.
Same.
And
yeah, it does, yeah.
So back to the developer thing. I know I'm talking your ear off.
That's cool.
Back at the developer thing. So everyone's sitting in a room, and they're like, "Hey guys, congratulations, Mazel Tov, whatever the fuck." And they're like, "Hey, congratulations, whatever you guys want to do, you got it." And not only that, but we have 300 slots for developers in Avatar. So if all of you guys want to work on Avatar, you can all work on Avatar and be a huge family. And I think all of the developers were like, hell yeah, let's go. Peace. And that probably gave them all raises. It probably gave them all, job security, gave them everything they wanted. And then you had a few people where they were like, hey, we need a few guys to transition Division 1 to Division 2. So, hey, can you, and you take, a managerial or a creative director standpoint and help all these new developers make this Division 2 game. So then you have these developers trying to teach new people about this franchise. And to like put that in layman's terms, that's like me taking some 20-year-old kid that's never even heard of the Division and being like, hey man, we're in like this post-apocalyptic world, man, and like we went from like New York to Washington DC. We want to make it similar, but we want to make this a new game. Like, what do you got? And then it just seems like they like saw like a game trailer for Division 1 and then just started like making up stuff for Division 2. It just seems like a huge disconnect. Where it's like it looks similar to Division 1. The guns and gear kinda look similar to Division 1. But it's nothing like the Division 1. The healing is completely different. The skills kind of feel the same, but there's no specials. Instead, we have specializations, which nobody uses.
No, that.
And then it just seems like a lot of dropped balls, where if you were to just take the same development team and just do the exact same thing with Washington, D.C., I think they would have been way more successful.
Yeah, because didn't the original Division, the original team that worked on the Division, they weren't the same people that worked on the Division 2, were they?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They all left.
Yeah. And so that's, like you said, that probably explains why it's so different. I mean, very different. It feels like it's, like you said, it's got similar stuff to the Division 1, but it feels like it's almost its own game in many ways compared to, they feel like two different games rather than part of the same universe. And,
it's like I'm like deep diving. I'm letting you know like the deep dive. So my theory is that people like Frederick Thylander, people like Trick Dempsey, people like Chris Gansler, people like Bruce, people like Mackenzie, they were not heavily, like, I think Frederick was for Division 1, but the rest of them were not. I don't think any of those other developers were in Division 1.
Yeah, I didn't pay enough attention to the Division 1 in terms of that to know, if I'm being honest.
So what I'm thinking, and this is just me spitballing. So say you are Massive and I'm Red Storm, right? And we both worked on Division 1 together. And we both were successful. Not only that, but we were so successful that they put Terry as their poster boy for E3. And they straight up was making this a whole publicity stunt. So at this point, you're happy with each other. I'm happy with you, you're happy with me. Now the problem is that you told all your developers to go on to bigger and better things, and now you have a whole bunch of new people. Because when you have new people, you can pay them less. When you pay them less, you make more profit. So you get all your good developers to go on to better projects. You don't have to pay them big money. You get newer developers, you pay them less, and you just tell them what to do. So what happened is, I think Frederick Thylander and some other people, they had developers under them, and they were like, hey, this is what happened in Division 1, this is what I've learned from Division 1, and this is what I want to incorporate in Division 2. And then all the new developers were like, oh, okay, we'll focus on this, this, and this, no problem, you got it. Now, Red Storm and Terry and all them, they're sitting in the other side of the room. None of their developers have changed. They're all the same people from Division 1. All of a sudden, you have all the successful guys from Red Storm looking at all these newbies developing Division 2, and they're like, what the hell are you guys doing? This is broken, this is broken, this is broken. We can't play PvP with this. Like, what the hell's going on here? And then the people at Massive are like, hey man, just make it work. And Red Storm's like, all right, we'll make it work. Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. And the updates, if we have to, we'll just make PvP only updates. That way we can fix it. And for anything PvE, you guys just take care of it. And in that mindset, it seems like everyone's on the same page. However, once you start having the Massive people mess up, then you have all the Red Storm guys who are veterans, who have already been successful, who have already shown they know what they're talking about. They are now talking to these new developers from Massive, and they're like, what the hell, guys? This is Title Update 6, and PvP is still broken. Like, what the hell? What's going on? And then the PvE guys are like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, just make it work. Like, we're giving you what you need, just make it work. And then all of a sudden, Red Storm's like, bro, we can't. Like, this mechanic has to change. You have to revert, this back to the way it was in Division 1. Or this is not going to work. Like, we're developing two different types of games. Because PvP feels completely different than PvE in some aspects.
Yeah, it does.
So then all of a sudden you're creating this disconnect. And then it's like Red Storm is up against Massive, and they're supposed to be working together. To where it's like, hey Massive, why is PvP broken? I don't know. Why don't you ask the PvP guys? And then the PvP guys are like, yo, fuck you. PvP's great. If you didn't give us this crap system and this crap gear, maybe we wouldn't be, worried about it so broken. And I think that just made tensions grow, and then it probably got to the point where Ubisoft was like, Red Storm, if you're not happy, you can move on to something else. And then they're like, yo, Assassin's Creed, let's go. And
but I know for
sure
sure
it happened.
I know for sure that there was issues, because I remember a long time ago, probably April 2019, possibly. I was speaking to Frederick, and he said that there was some. He basically said it's Massive versus Red Storm, and there's internal politics that he didn't realize. And that was back in April 2019, so that's only a month after the game actually was launched, wasn't it? So
Right.
already at that point there was issues. So it makes sense.
To double down on this, their their creative directions were going in completely different ways. Because one state of the game, you would have Massive say, hey, we're bringing this up with PvP, we're going to have Red Storm develop it, we're doing, this change and this change, and you're getting a new game mode. And then you had Red Storm, where they would show up the following week on State of the Game, and they would say, oh, hey guys, what about this idea that if you go into the Dark Zone, you could get higher gear score? And Massive flipped. They flipped out. They were like, what? Why are you telling people that? And then the community flipped out. And they were like, what? You're going to make us go to the Dark Zone to get 515 gear?
Oh, I remember
that's
that.
the only way? And in a certain way, it like... So, thinking numbers. When the game first came out, it was like, hey, how many people are playing this? How many people are playing this? And they saw that not a lot of people were playing PvP because conflict was not that fun, and the maps for the DZs are really small. They're not fun. They're really small.
Yeah.
So, what they did as a business, you're like, hey guys, PvP, we need better ideas. People aren't buying it. Like, give us some fresh ideas. So then Terry, being the creative director, was like, hey guys, what if we just made higher gear score for the DZ? That way people go in there, we get our numbers up, it looks like everyone's PvPing. Even in reality, people go in there to farm and then go to PvE. They're still in the Dark Zone. And Massive flipped them off and said, no, go die. And then that's when it like started to... It was that state of the game. Because there was only 2 state of the games they did. I remember this clearly. Because the first state of the game, Terry and this other dude, I forget his name, that's when they introduced, hey, what if we did gear score 515 in the Dark Zone? Everyone flipped out. And then the next state of the game, it might have been a month later, they said, hey, we're not doing that. We're giving you team elimination. We're giving you a different rogue system, if you remember that. I think it was called Rogue 2.0.
Yeah.
And they did something else, which they made good changes. They listened to what people wanted, and they fixed it. But I think that when they did that, I think Red Storm bent over and just took it. Because Red Storm had all these great ideas, and I think Massive was like, look, we're not upping the gear score like that. People want PvE. Like, we're not doing PvP like that. And at that point, they were hitting creative differences. And in any sort of entertainment business, creative differences is what kills 99% of what happens. So they began clashing at creative differences because I bet Red Storm, obviously, if they're focused on PvP, they want PvP to be the main focus. They want everyone to go into the Dark Zone. They want everyone to go into conflict. They want people to play it because they're the ones developing it. But if Massive, the people that are controlling the whole damn game, if they say, hey, no, dude, we're making a lot of money off of PvE, you got to back off a little bit. We're not doing PvP like that. And then all of a sudden it's pissing off Red Storm, and they're like, well, if you're not going to utilize us, we'll go to a different game where they're going to utilize us. And then, one easy phone call to Ubisoft, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, guys, you're under contract, so if you don't want to work on this game, we can send you to this game. And then that's it. And it's like, all right, guys, peace.
Well, yeah, it was definitely a departure.
Yeah, and a
Because I
silent
think it didn't.
departure.
It took a while, wasn't it, that they were actually out. I think it was officially confirmed on maybe Twitter by Terry.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but there was no
Months
announcement.
later.
Yeah, it was months later. There was no announcement until I don't even know. Have the devs of Massive actually announced their departure? I think they have, haven't they? Now.
I think they did like not now, but they have. But
Yeah.
I think it was Twitter where
Yeah, that's
Terry
right.
went on there and said that Red Storm is now focusing on a different game because he is the creative director. He's the equivalent of Julian Garrity.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But then all the other, like you said, like all the devs that were working on the game initially, Frederick and Bruce and Chris and stuff like that. Well, I mean, Bruce was working on it recently, as I've heard from him since, at all. So Chris is gone. From it looks like Frederick's gone. Bruce is gone. Nicky Cuppins as well. I think he was also um, working on it, and then now I've not heard from him, so I don't know what's happening there either. But it just feels like there's only Mackenzie and what's the other dude's name? Oh, what's his name?
Mackenzie, Johan, and Trick.
And yeah, I haven't heard of Johan for a while. The last time I heard from him was on when he did the trailer, talking about.
He's still working on it.
I know he's still working on it, but it honestly only feels like there's 3 people working on the game, and that is it.
Yeah. My guess, like I said earlier, probably 4 to 10 tops. Because I think Bruce is still in it. He's overlooking stuff for the gear. Trick is working with the seasons and the open world stuff.
Yeah.
Mackenzie is working on the summit.
What can I do for you, Agent?
So I mean, I don't know. It's not bad. Oh hey, by the way, at the clan vendor, there's Fox's Prayer knee pads with 5.2 crit chance.
Yeah, no, I
Pretty
did a vendor video for it earlier on.
Dang, you did that too?
Nice making it.
Yep.
Dang.
I know,
I wake up and you're already done for the day.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest, this podcast has kind of just turned into a division podcast, which is to be expected, to be honest.
It has this episode just because that's all we mainly cover for the most part.
Yeah.
And that's to be expected. Both of our demographics are division. And I'm going to get some other content creators on here that have been working on other games. So it's actually going to open up.
Oh, okay,
but
cool.
I think I'm going to just focus on whatever my guest is focused on. And
Yeah.
I know that your content as a whole is mainly focused on the division.
Yeah,
Maybe I can do another episode with you, months down the line where all of a sudden you're like a Destiny content creator and we can talk about that. That'd be pretty cool.
yeah. I don't. I highly doubt that's going to happen. Like you said earlier on, making that kind of transition is difficult. Very, very difficult. And I can't foresee that happening unless, of course, we come to the end, December time, and the devs come out and say, "Look, we're done, guys. Division 3 is coming out in a year and a bit, year and a half. We're done until then, so we'll see you in a year and a half." I'll have no choice.
Yeah.
Until
true.
that point, I
Very
don't
true.
really see me changing what I'm doing. So I guess it all depends on what happens in this game, if I'm being honest. Because I still want to cover this game. I've been covering this game since Division 1, so we're looking at 4.5 years. So and I don't want to move away from it because there's a lot of people I've met through this game, and it's for all of the bad stuff that's this game offers, there's a lot of good stuff, and I've definitely got my money's worth, and it's definitely changed my life for better. So
Definitely.
I struggle sometimes. I see people complain and stuff, and I get that. There's stuff to complain about for sure, but I really struggle to complain about this game because I know in the grand scheme, the bigger picture is that actually I've got nothing to complain about, because in my personal life, it's done so much for me, and so I feel like I owe it to actually just be as positive as possible. But also because, especially this year, with all of the stuff that's happened this year so far,
It's very hard to stay positive.
it is, but I also find it easy to stay positive because I'm one of those people that's been very fortunate. When you
Right.
consider everything that's happened, I'm one of those people that's been very fortunate to be able to, do a full-time job at home, but also still do this, still cover, still do YouTube stuff, and all that sort of stuff. So I feel very fortunate. So it's easy for me to be positive because of that fact. And I feel as though it's just too much negativity right now, and I don't want to be part of that. Which is why you'll probably see with a lot of my videos, even when I am giving feedback, I try and be positive. I try and put a positive spin on everything that I can, because I just don't like negativity really at all anymore.
No, I agree, and I think a lot of people they go to certain channels and videos to escape, and if the world is going in a bad direction and then they watch your videos and your videos are negative, then they're just going to get even worse, and then it just tailspins. But if they're looking at your content as like a positive thing to go to, they can be like, hey, Epic just made a video, I know that'll make me feel better, even if it's for like 10 minutes, and like get your mind off of the real world, and then you can kind of envision the Division world, go into that and stuff like
Yeah,
that. But,
exactly. And you can see that reflected in that optimization video, when I learned about that, because my immediate reaction was a positive one.
right.
I know the negatives of it, but my immediate reaction was, well, actually, they're doing this for a positive reason. There's got to be a positive reason for this, and that's what I focused on initially. There are obviously, I know the negatives, but I didn't really want to focus on that, if I'm being honest. I kind of wanted to say, well, look, maybe it could just be this, maybe it could be this year for everything, maybe it could be whatever. But I didn't want to add to the negativity that I could see coming, because there has been a lot of it following that news, and I didn't want to be, again, I didn't want to add to that when there's just
Yeah,
so much of
and
that right now.
yeah, I completely agree, and I think that's why I haven't even made videos on it. I feel as if every time they do this news dump or this, update dump, it just seems like there's a lot of ways to spin it in a negative light.
Yeah,
It's very easy to go and do a rant video and be upset about it, because a lot of people can relate. It's like, man, how many people miss Division 1 PvP, and then 9 out of every 10 people are going to be like, yeah, me, and then
Yeah,
if
exactly.
you talk about that, they're all going to be agreeing with you. And kind of the same deal with negativity. It's like, oh great, this is dead, and then you're going to get a million people click on that. I think Gamey Daddy said that a long time ago, where he was like, the reason he puts clickbait titles and he does clickbait thumbnails, or he will personally make like a negative spin on an idea, is to get someone to click on it. And then once they click on it, he's like, hey, sorry that I clickbaited you, but this is not a negative video, this is a positive video. And then
Yeah.
everyone's like, what? And
I like his
think that's-
stuff a lot.
and that's one of the ways. I'll have him on here in a few weeks or something like that. But
cool.
he's great, people. I like that way of it, to where you're clickbaiting those people that automatically want to go towards the toxicity, and then you're giving them positivity. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's see. We talked about how we came to be. We talked about the Division 2, the Division 3. Talked about Avatar. I mean, we even talked about switching games as a content creator.
Yeah.
I think we've about beat this dead horse, man. It's been
Man.
it's been a lot of fun. What are your first reactions? Because you're my first guest.
I don't really know, to be honest. I've really enjoyed it, because a lot of the stuff that I've talked about in this kind of podcast is stuff that I've kind of just kept to myself, stuff that I don't talk to anyone about really. And so having someone to talk to about it who also feels the same way in many instances is cool, because it feels like you're not alone in that, and that's really cool. But also, getting to talk about something that I really love is great, with someone else who obviously really loves it as well. Is also great. But
I think that's the aim of this this whole series, this whole podcast thing, is that what I've noticed with content creators is they are very introverted. They are very what's a better way of putting it? They're very lone wolf, where they play video games by themselves, they make videos by themselves, they do the content by themselves. 99% of the time they're by themselves, and more times than not, you're just sitting there listening to your own voice. You're not getting real interactions. And I don't know about you, but for me, 99% of comments on videos are, they're like fans. They're biased. There's there's very few constructive criticisms. It's more like, oh man, great job, keep it going, or oh, another great video, or I love your stuff. And there's no real dialogue, there's no real back and forth discussion. So I feel that when we're doing certain subjects about these games, we're only doing our point of view, our perspective, which a lot of people relate with, and the more people that relate with you, obviously, the more subscribers you get, blah, blah, blah. But what hinders that is that you don't get to talk to other people. You don't really get other eyes on the same thing. So the way I look at it, kind of like the developers should do with the summit. If I'm doing gear and NPCs in the summit and you're doing environmental stuff in the summit, we should be able to hit a point where we could flip and see each other's work and be able to give each other notes. Like, hey, hey, you missed this, or hey, you missed that. But with content creating, you do not get any of that. All you get is they liked my video. Man, they really like this one more than the other one. And that's about it. You don't really get any back and forth.
No, not at all. Like you said, it does feel like very much like you're alone in doing all of that. And like you said, with the comments and stuff, the majority are, good job and whatever. But you don't have these conversations. You don't get to really talk to anyone about anything. It's just you post a video which you think is people are going to want to watch. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You get some comments and then you move on to the next one, and it's just there's no real interaction.
And that's why I'm trying to do this not only with Division content creators but all content creators, because you can see how they made their wheels spin. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I did Division build videos, and then I got big, so then I did vendor reset videos, and then I got bigger, so then I did this. But what if they only do streams? What if they only do, who's a good example? Lyrical Fighter. Love that guy. He does PvP, like humor, like borderline toxic PvP humor, to where it's hilarious. This dude, he'll shoot someone and do this laugh, and I can't even try to recreate his laugh, but it's so funny, dude. It is very, very humorous. But what I'm trying to say is, like, certain content creators might only do build videos. Certain content creators might only do PvP. And until you talk to these people, you're only stuck in your own bubble. And then once you start talking to them, you'll start being like, oh, I didn't see it that way. Kind of like what I told you with Last Stand and recreating the Dark Zones and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
And in my eyes, that looks like the easiest way to develop PvP content. But in your eyes, you're like, well, PvP is kind of dead. I mean, why not just move on? Which, I mean, both have valid points. I completely agree with both of them.
Yeah.
But just stuff like that, because what I'm starting to notice is that within the content creators, it's a dog eat dog. All they care about are their subscribers, and all they care about is what their subscribers say to them. And to me, it's a lot different. I look at this more as like a community within a community. We all make videos and we all create content out of things we feel passionate about and we love. If we didn't feel that way, we wouldn't make videos on it. We'd go work at McDonald's or something. And the fact of the matter is that we are all cut from a similar cloth. And I just want to know what made people do that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I agree with the almost like the family side. Unfortunately, that's not how it is really on YouTube, but that's kind of what I want it to be. I mean, I won't say the creator's name. It may have been more than one, but the content creator reached out to me a while back. It was actually during, I think it was during Warlords, when Warlords first released, and I had by far my best month. And reached out to me and just basically said, look, my channel's not performing as well as I'd like. Is there anything you can recommend? And I basically took all of his Google details and I went into his account and I basically looked over the entire thing to see what I think he could do to make it better, or a lot of it on the YouTube side rather than the actual content itself.
Right.
And just had a full review of it and stuff, and we talked about it for a couple of days, and yeah, I mean, you know, he still covers the Division and stuff, and he's doing really well and stuff, and that's not because of me, but I could have easily been the person to go, oh, you know, well, you know, I'm busy, or just make it, because I'm not rude, so, you know, I'm busy, or you know, whatever, just because I know that at the end of the day, this person would be competition. So it would be easy for me to just kind of pie him off, but that's just not who I am. I'm just not going to do that.
I've had a similar instance.
Yeah.
Well, not the same. I'll elaborate. Back, I think, it had to have been a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. But anyways, Jet Forth Gaming was just starting to make videos in Division 2. And he was at a couple thousand subscribers. And I think by the time he hit 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers, that's around the same point I was at the time. And I just really enjoyed his content. I enjoyed his logo, I enjoyed his style, I enjoyed his execution, all of it. I found it entertaining. And the reason I say it's a dog-eat-dog world, and that's just how people feel, is the first time I even reached out to this guy, he said, you know, oh, I see you, you're one of my competition. Kind of like what you just said.
Right.
And that's where a lot of people, especially in the Division community, they only care about them. And they only see you as either competition or an enemy, something like that. Where I'm not saying that about Jetforth at all. Me and him ended up being great friends, and we still are. But it was just crazy because the first time he ever heard from me, he was like, oh, you're competition. And then I was like, nah, man, I don't. I told him then and there, like, I don't treat other channels as competition. I don't even care. Like, I do this because I enjoy to do it, and I could give two craps if you get 200,000 likes and I get 1,000. I could care less.
Yeah.
The end of the day, I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm surrounded by people that enjoy what they're doing, and we have fun. And that should be all it is, but I've noticed, especially in the Division 2 community, it's just dog eat dog. They don't care, and they just want everyone to think that they're better than you are. And then whenever you shine light on their imperfections, they run away like cockroaches. And I've noticed it a lot because I've reached out to certain creators and certain not. Like, for example, I started this podcast idea the other day.
Yeah.
And I've been working on it internally for quite some time, but I've just now actually gotten the balls to reach out to everybody. And overwhelmingly, I would say 99% of everyone said yes.
That's good, man. That's
And
good.
that's going from like people with like 200,000 subscribers to like people with like 2,000 subscribers. And every single one of them have said yes. I think there's been one or two people that just won't reply to me, which I think one of them I had to reach out on a different platform for them to see it just because of notifications and stuff like that, which is fine. But I think there's only one person that told me no.
Oh, really?
Everyone
Okay.
else, every single person I've ever talked to about this or described what I was doing or shared my envision, everyone agrees. They all think it's a great idea. Because in the end of the day, if you go onto YouTube, in any industry or section, any at all, even Call of Duty, Fortnite, anything, there are constant channels and collaborators that work with each other to help build each other up and the community around them
Yeah.
constantly. And it's so easy. They do it in every single category on YouTube except for the Division 2. And what I've noticed is even in Call of Duty, stuff like that, they'll just hook up. What they'll do is they'll make a couple of community posts. They're like, hey, who would like to see me play with this person? And then everyone's like, hell yeah! And then they record a couple games together. They each record it so that they can post it on their own platform. And then all of a sudden, you're getting all of these audiences and all of these different demographics from all over the world to see each other's content. It helps everybody out. It helps each content creator get bigger and make more money. It helps the content creators make content. It helps keep content consistent. And it keeps your audiences happy because not only do they get to see you, they get to see someone else. And not only that, but they might like that someone else. Or maybe they've never heard of that someone else. And then all of a sudden now you're a fan of that person. And it continuously grows, and to the point where everyone is huge. But not in the Division community. In the Division community, it's, hey, I've got this many subscribers, who are you? And it's like, come on, dude, like, really? Like,
Yeah, that's not on, man. I don't like that.
or my pet peeve line, and it's actually an entire clan. And my pet peeve about these people is they claim that everyone has a different community. They're like, oh, well, my community thinks this, and your community thinks that. And it's like how much segregation are you trying to apply into a community that literally plays the exact same game? Everyone is playing the exact same thing, having fun the exact same way, and you're trying to segregate them even more. And that's why we have all this toxicity, is because it's like you had people on PC saying they were superior to console players. So then all of a sudden you had this platform war kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then you have certain creators saying that they're better than other creators because they're on, this console or this console. And then all of a sudden you have other creators saying, oh, well, if you follow this guy, you can't be friends with me because all my people believe this.
Oh, I
And
know
it's
that.
Come on. And what they're not understanding is that we are all a part of the exact same community. Whether we play PvE or PvP, it doesn't matter. We're all in the division, and we all enjoy it together. So if we were to actually work together and collaborate and actually like work as a community, we would build. And if we had a working YouTube community of all the creators like building each other up, I guarantee you this game would skyrocket. But it's not that. Everyone is in their own little corner, and it's spread out. And that's just where things are falling apart. Because the way I explain it to my clan and the way I explain it to the people that watch me is that I'm like a runaway train. I am forever going on the train tracks, and it will not stop. Sometimes I'll have hobos jump on. Sometimes I'll have hobos jump off. Sometimes I'll have people jump on the train that love it and they stay. And other times I'll have people that just watch it drive by. But either way, I'm still moving forward. I have yet to stop progressing. And what certain channels and people don't understand is that if they're so stuck in their ways and so stuck in their corner, they're not going to progress. And I know there's a lot of people in life that are okay with that. You know, there's those people that they're born, raised, and die all in the exact same town or city, and they've never seen the world kind of deal. And I think if you're living that way, you're too close-minded to everything else around you. And for me, like I've been all over the world. I've done everything. I've seen some shit and whatever. But I think that my horizons are broadened. Like I see more of the picture than most, because you can look at it from a developer standpoint, you can look at it from a gamer standpoint, you can look at it from a content creator standpoint, you can look at it just from a fan standpoint. And I don't know, there's a lot of positivity in this, and I think if content creators were really serious about being content creators, we could really make this a real thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you on that, definitely. And you're right. You know, it's been like this for a long time, especially with this game, where you know everyone just sits in their own corner, does their own thing. And you're right in that other games don't really do that. I mean, I've seen Call of Duty videos where I've seen creators like, I can't remember his name, who just collaborated with other people, and everyone's successful as a result. Instead, with this game, it's, well, I want to be successful, and I don't want anyone else to be. And it could be because people are worried that with this game not being successful in terms of player base, when you compare it to other bigger games with much bigger player bases, they're probably concerned that, well, if I push this person up, then their audience is, or my audience might just start watching them and stop watching me, and there's not a big enough audience then for me. So
there's a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah, definitely. And so I know for me, like I'm happy, like I said, with people reaching out to me if they want tips and stuff on whatever them with their channels, even if it's covering the vision. I'm happy. That's fine. I don't see other competition. I just see them as another creator doing the same thing as me and whatever. And if I can help them, then I will. But there is always that concern, always, that with this game in particular, with it being in a place where it's not, it's not the same. There's not the base there that there was when the game launched, for example. If someone else that you've encouraged to do this, if they suddenly start, getting 20, 30, 40,000 views a video, then they are probably going to be taking views away from you, especially if they're doing similar content. And so, kind of in many ways, Personally, like I said, for me, it doesn't bother me, but a lot of people it will, and for a lot of people it will be that kind of selfish. Well, I want the views because then I get the money, rather than someone else.
So, my outlook on this, because I do agree with you, but a lot of people are that way, and for some reason, YouTube's relatively new. 5 years ago, there was no one doing this really. And all of a sudden, 5 years later, I think if you go on to like YouTube, whatever stats, you can see that there's like 300,000 like gamer content creators or something like that. And it's skyrocketed recently, so it's still relatively new. And what people are not realizing is they all want to be Christopher Columbus. They all want to reach that pinnacle and be the first one to reach that pinnacle, whatever it is, whether it be, 1 million subscribers, 1 million views, whatever it is. Now, the way I look at it is that, say, Andy Warhol, for example, the famous artist. Andy Warhol wasn't thinking of other painters and other artists as competition. He was just doing his thing. He was unique, did his thing, got super popular, and he was his own icon kind of deal. Now, let's try to relate this to Michael Jordan. So Michael Jordan was a team player, but he was a winner. He wanted to win. And he knew that in order to win, he would have to be surrounded by people of equal skills as him, but were also driven the way he was driven. He didn't look at everyone like, oh, if I pass the ball to him, he's going to score and I'm not going to get a point. Boo-hoo.
Yeah.
He looked at it as, if I pass the ball to him, he's going to score, we're going to win the game, we're winners. We're all winners. And that's all he wanted. Now, my thought of it is, if we are all battling for the same view, only one person's going to get it. If we work together, we all bring out content that is more positive oriented, more informational, more inviting, more viewer friendly. This will get people to see the game in a less toxic light. It'll also see these content creators in a less toxic light, and this will promote a happier community that works together, helps each other out, and then we can start to build each other up. It's not, I'm subscribed to I don't even know how many channels, but I guarantee you none of those channels are like, hey Kamikaze, please watch my video and don't watch anyone else's ever, please. It's like that. Only the Division community seems to be that way. It's like, only you can watch my video, and if you watch anyone else's video, you're an enemy, and I hate you. And it's like, dude, come on. Like, I can watch this guy for builds, I can watch this guy for farming tips, I can watch this guy for any cheats or glitches, I can watch this guy for news updates, I can watch this guy for, weapons, I can watch this guy for content and speculations. Like, there's a lot of people. I mean, there's certain content creators that just test, and all they do is like test certain talents against each other. There's a lot of content that has to be covered, and no one person will ever cover it all.
No, not
so
at all.
If you work together, build each other up, then the audience can watch everybody. And then if they do that, it builds up everybody, and the audience gets smarter, because all of our knowledge that we have of this game is pretty useful. And once they gather all the information, they're going to be on the same skill level that we are. Like, yeah, I might be better at PvP or better at conflict or better at Dark Zone or better at this, and it's just because I've done it. I've done it a lot. I know the routes that people run. I know that if I come at this angle, they're more than likely to hit this cover. I know that this is a good place for a turret, this is a bad place for a turret. It's just knowledge that you gain from experience, and the average player doesn't play as much as we do. So if we can build each other up and combine all of our knowledge and all of our experiences, we could actually make a really cool community, because this game is very complicated.
Yeah, yeah, I've wanted that for a very long time, but I mean, even Division 1 we didn't have that, did we? Like, really, it's been this way since...
No, but... So, Division 1, it was a little bit easier, though.
In
Division 1, we would shout out each other.
Yeah.
Like, for example, what was it? I think Easy TV did a build. What was it? It was Predshi, where it was Predator and Banshee. And it was amazing. It was a great combination. And he was like the first one to do a build video on that build that got big. So what other content creators would do is they would say, dude, that's a great build, let me try it out. And then they would make their own separate build video and shout them out. Like, hey, this was a build that I picked up from Easy TV, here's his channel below, shout out to him, here's my build video. That way, it shout out the dude that did it, so it helps build him up. It helps the community who didn't know who he was maybe see his video. And they're watching your video because of the content you got from him. It's all building each other. Nowadays, there's none of that. And in fact, it's the opposite. Now, I've done it and I've been very vocal about it. There's been a content creator who's bigger than me now that used to watch every single one of my videos and comment on every single one of my videos until he got big, and then he started taking my ideas and making them his own without shouting me out, without doing anything. And it was to the point where you would see my video and my build that was not on YouTube at all, and then 3 hours later he would have his version of it. And it was funny because I would say in my video, no one else on YouTube has this combination. I think I'm the first person to think of this. And then a couple of hours later, it's like, hey guys, look at this. And it's like, what?
Oh wow, I didn't notice that.
And it got to the point where I called the dude out, and he's like, oh, I don't watch your videos. And it's like, dude, like, I've got a list of like 100 videos you would comment on and be one of the first people to comment on. Like, I know you're subscribed to me. I know you watch my stuff. And then it's like, oh, well, everyone does this. And it's like, dude, like, now you're just lying. And that's where bridges start to get burned. Because back in Division 1 days, and this is what I tried to explain to the dude, is that it's common courtesy. Hey, I learned this from Epic Slayer. Epic Slayer told me about this, and I think this is awesome. Here's my opinion on it. It's that easy. But instead, people are skipping it, and they're just like, here's my opinion, forget everyone else. And it's like, dude, like, your opinion's based off of this dude's opinion, and you're not even sharing it, so you're just, quarterbacking what he already did. And that just goes back to my whole, like, dog-eat-dog world where people aren't helping each other out.
Yes, sad really, isn't it? Because we're all meant to be adults, but I think everyone treats it like a business where you have competition.
Correct.
And if someone's trying to steal your business or do something similar, then you're not going to do anything for them. And I feel like a lot of people are treated like a business rather than a hobby.
And this is where I thrive in, because I'm older than most that do this. I mean, I'm only in my 30s, but I've already done the military thing for like a decade. I did college for, 5-6 years. I've got business, and I've actually got computer science and programming under my belt. So I can more understand these things, where it's like, yeah, you might think I'm a competition, but if you look at it as a real business model, you could look at it as a healthy companionship, as a partnership, as a limited time collaboration. I mean, dude, if Chips Ahoy and Reese's can come up with a Chips Ahoy Reese's cookie and sell billions of them, it's still a collaboration. Yeah, they might be competitors, but they worked together and they made a crap ton of money. I mean, it's just that simple. Any sort of merger. In the 90s, you had Batman versus Punisher. You had Batman versus the Predator, Batman versus Aliens, Wolverine versus the Hulk. And all it is them just collaborating just to build each other up. And that's all it is. And what people aren't understanding is, if you just use that simple equation and just put it into the division content creating, you could have the exact same result. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I think, unfortunately, because of the way it is, then, without the community of the Division 2, for the most part, really, because of the way it's splintered and everyone does their own thing, really, if people work together, like you said, like the games do, then, more interested to either come back or play it for the first time. Whereas, if I'm going on to YouTube and I've never played the Division before, and I'm like, I wonder what this game's about, and I go on and have a look. The majority of the stuff is negative. It's this game's bad, or this person's the build is crap, or whatever. But actually, if everyone just worked together and made it a more positive atmosphere, then I think the game would grow. Part of the reason why the game has failed is because of the way the creators and stuff and everyone's kind of splintered and doing their own thing.
Yeah, and I understand what's a good way? Constructive criticism. I understand that. I think that that's needed.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I made a YouTube channel because I knew that my builds were better than half of the content creators I was watching. And I knew it. I knew that every time, I won't even say it, but I think there was like 4 or 5 YouTube channels I would watch. And easily 3 out of the 5 would make build videos where I had the similar build, but my numbers were higher. And I'm like, why am I wasting my time watching this dude do the same thing I'm doing, but worse? And he's getting views for that, and he's getting recognition for that. I was like, what? And that's where I understand that sometimes I'll get these comments from these people that are like, hey man, my build's better than yours. Hey man, you should use this because this is better. And stuff like that. They're just trying to force feed you what they do.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's useful. Sometimes they get you to see a build in a different light to where it either hits harder, has more sustainability, whatever. But other times it's just toxic. It's just like, hey, you suck. And it's like, well, how did I suck? What part of this sucks? Is there a way I can make it better? How would you make it better? Because if you open that dialogue, you can teach. You could teach not only the person that did it, but you can teach everyone else who's watching or reading it. They're like, oh, I didn't see it that way. And we're missing that step completely, where it's just straight to, hey, screw you, you're stupid. And it's like, well, if you don't tell me how I'm stupid, I guess I'll just keep being stupid because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, I think that's partly, to be honest, what you've said there is partly the reason I made a complete transition over to doing news stuff. If, where possible, I would always just cover the news. Obviously, when there's times where I want to talk about stuff, then of course I will. But for the most part, I like to just focus on the news because, at the end of the day, with that sort of thing, if I'm just saying what the devs are saying, basically, and just giving you an update on stuff, and there's really no way you can be negative at me because I'm not the person that's, I'm just telling you what's going on. That's why because I'll be honest with you, I just had enough with that kind of mentality of and people just putting stuff in the comments and stuff, and you try and respond back like you said and be like, okay, well, what would you do differently, etc., and you get nothing. It's just, oh, that's bad because it is. All right, well, or you did this wrong because of, and there's no reason. And I just got fed up of it, to be honest. So for me, I just thought, what, I'm just going to really look at focusing on the new stuff that for the most part people can't really argue with me about because it's news coming from either the devs or from wherever. And I still do my opinion videos where I do get stuff back like that. But for the most part, even for those opinion videos, they're based on not just mine, but from what I'm seeing in the community as a whole. Rather than just me kind of going against everyone else. So it's on the news now rather than anything else.
Yeah.
And also because I thought long term, if the Division 2 does that, then I will still focus on the news, but for other games. I've always had the idea that for me, the next step for me is, you ever watch someone called Yong Ye?
No.
No? Did you know Angry Joe?
No. Angry Joe.
Show now? So they just do, they just take gaming news, just as a whole.
Oh, yeah,
Yong Ye does gaming news as well. And all they do is, they just take news. I'd probably do it in a different format, but they just take news and they just talk about the news in the game and they give their opinions a little bit on that news and stuff, and that's what they do. They do it for everything.
I like your thumbnails a lot better.
That's what I want to go to. That's my next step, if that makes sense for me on my channel.
Jesus, their thumbnails are pretty messed up. They've got a lot of views though.
Who's Angry Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, Angry Joe's awesome.
I think his thumbnails could be a lot cleaner though.
Oh yeah, those are the
those
are the news ones. They do a lot of reviews as well.
No, I mean, I think so. What you're saying is that you prefer the news because you can do an unbiased content where people can have their own opinion and speak about it without actually like attacking you.
Yeah, but also I'm not particularly creative. So the part, to be honest, the part that I hate the most about content creation is the creation part. It's the part where I've got to think of the video that I'm going to do. And that's what I struggle with the most, because that for me is just not something that I'm good at, and I know that. So actually, when it comes to the news, that part is pretty much removed because that's covered by the news. So the creation part is the news. It's the part afterwards that I enjoy the most and that I like to do, which is the
Hello? Womp womp womp. We might have lost Epic, everyone. Uh-oh. Well, we might have just lost him. So instead of just troubleshooting and doing all that jazz, I might just end up ending the podcast there. So thank you to Epic Slay3rs for stopping by and having a great conversation. There you are. What's up, man?
Yes. Yeah, sorry, my
my
controller died, so I lost
too long. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
What were you saying? we'll finish that up and then we'll get out of here.
I was just saying, so like, if I was to focus on the news, and it would be unlikely that I would just stay within the gaming genre as well. Outside of the gaming genre and focus just on news as a whole, rather than just gaming news, if I'm honest.
Right. I would probably go even further and go pop culture. I love pop culture news, whether it be TV shows, movies, whether it be anything like that, video games, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. I spend the majority of my time with that stuff. So.
There's an old show you can research. It was canceled about a decade ago, but it's only because the news or the network that they were on closed down.
Oh, right.
The name of the show is called Attack of the Show. So if you research that show and adapt that to your YouTube channel, I think you'd blow up. Because what they did on Attack of the Show is they did video game news, movie, TV news, but then they did technology news.
Okay.
So then they did like consoles, they did like, basically anything that would get somebody's ear, oh, they're working on flying cars or, anything like that. And then they would even talk about video games, everything.
That sounds like something's right up my street, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and it's called Attack of the Show. It was on G4 TV, I believe it was called. Anyways, the channel got sold to someone else, and they actually had to close down the show. But do you remember Olivia Munn?
Nope.
She played in X-Men Apocalypse. She was the white woman mutant with the swords.
Yeah. Okay.
Her name, anyways, she started on that TV show.
Oh, right. Okay.
She was a news anchor, a nobody. And
wow.
all of a sudden she started dating like some football player, became an actress. Now she's like an A-list celebrity, all this crap, and she started a little news TV show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. But that would be the direction I would go, just because I'm more interested in everything pop culture and technology. So anything under the sun. I mean, that's basically 90% of the news right there, besides politics.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
I would be interested in politics.
Yeah, me neither. But all right, man. It was a pleasure, dude. I think
definitely.
We'll be just under 3 hours. This is going to be quite a good one.
Oh, wow.
But it was a great conversation. I've learned a lot. And I hope that you have as well.
Yeah, man. Thank you very much. I'm about to go and play some Destiny 2 in 40 minutes.
There you go. But do you have anything for me? Any critiques for the next show?
No, I think it's fine. I think the work is fine. Before, just pretty much a conversation, which is exactly how it should be, rather than, here's some questions and I want answers kind of hosting. The format's perfect. I think that's the best way that you get the best. You also get the most. Get who you're speaking to. You don't get people can't kind of think of answers and stuff. You get the genuine person,
right.
Rather than
exactly.
And that's exactly.
So instead of doing questions, what I do is just topics. I'm just like, hey, let's talk about this topic. Because I've noticed, I tried to do that Division 2 podcast a while back with Clint Flairwoo, and I noticed that a lot of it was just like we would write down a question and then we would each answer it, and it was like, this isn't fun. This isn't. I need more of like conversation style, because people can't relate until you put it into conversation template. But
so stick with that.
Yeah, no, I got you, man. Thank you very much. This will be a lot of fun. Thank you for doing this. I'll let
That's
you know
okay.
whenever I put it on Spotify and YouTube, so you can see what everyone thinks about it, and obviously you can share it and get your name out there.
Cool, man.
But-
Thanks very much.
Yeah, dude. I hope you well with all your future content, and
Yeah,
Destiny
you too.
2. I'll definitely share it on my Twitter and all that. And
That's
if
it.
you need
I might not
anything,
cover it, yeah.
if you need anything PvP wise, or you just want to have fun in conflict or whatever, just hit me up. I'm
will
always
do.
down.
Yeah, we'll do. I don't spend much time in there, but if I do and you're on, then I'll let you know.
Well, if you just message me, I'm on every day. I just show offline sometimes.
I'm always
So-
showing offline.
Oh, I got you. But what you do, if you ever want to learn more about the conflict, I can show you the routes and everything I do. It'll actually make it a lot easier.
Alright, cool.
But yeah, man. So take care.
You too, man.
Cheers for all that. Thank you very much. And hope you guys enjoyed episode 1 of Game Chat. I'm Kamikazevondoom. This is Epic Slayers. And
Okay.
I think that's a